Welcome, welcome! I'm the Chris who plays games, and tonight we're going to be playing some Sonic the Hedgehog. Hello, Xander Kennedy, and welcome to the stream. Sonic the Hedgehog, the original Blue Blur, will be joining us this evening as we make our way through Sonic 1, 2, and maybe 3. I kind of doubt that. I'm good, but I'm not that good. So we'll be playing Sonic all night tonight. I'm happy to have all of you here as usual, and looking forward to having a good night just playing some games. Of course, with Sonic being the game that we're playing, Sega! We will hopefully have a little bit of easier time just kind of playing through and having fun. There's that Blue Blur. The blue face that we all know and love, Sonic the Hedgehog. So the other day, I was at my daughter's concert at college, and one of the people who was singing in the concert, or in the audience of the concert, had a hedgehog. And so I was like, you know what? With hedgehogs on my mind, you know what I've got to do? I've got to play myself some Sonic. So here we are, here you are. I hope you're all having a lovely night. I hope that maybe my stream started and you can actually see me. I should have maybe checked that before. And hey, look, my stream looks like it's working. So that's good. Good, good, good. Welcome, welcome. Happy Monday, happy Monday. Monday, bloody Monday. Xander Kennedy, how was your Monday? Did you do anything special? Did you have a good day? Did you have a bad day? This feels a little bit choppy. Hello, John Vincent. Good to see you. Happy you made it. Oh man, look at all those coins. And I got them all. Well, not all of them, but enough of them. Oh god, look out. There we go. Made it right into the ring. It's good to see ya. But yeah, as I said, we're going to play some Sonic. I have played Sonic on stream before, but this was actually one of the games I played during my first 24-hour stream on November 9th of 2015. So I figured that maybe I could get away with playing it again. So here we are. I'm playing it again, and we're going to see how it goes. I got to figure out, I go that way. Let's go that way. How am I doing? I'm doing okay. I had a kind of day. Like, I've got, you know, stuff going on at home, which maybe we'll talk about later. I've got, you know, work was a little bit stressful. Hello, Inu, how's it going? Good to see you. Glad you're here. Glad everybody here. Wendigo, how's it going? How's your FF8 playthrough coming through? Wendigo is another streamer, of course, who has been playing through Final Fantasy VIII. Last time I saw, she had the Ragnarok, and she was attempting to make her way through various parts of the thing. This level is somewhat trippy. Yeah, those levels are trippy. Wow, that's like super pixelated. Let me see if I can bump up my bitrate just a little bit. I think that was... Oh yeah, I'm like super low. Let's try this. Let's see if this works. There we go. Woo! That was... I just look at myself as that, like, my entire face is a block of pixels, and I'm like, uh-oh, that's not good. That's not my intent. Died a bunch today trying to finish the game. Are you in that final... So, like, the final... What I remember about Disc 4 was that basically the entire Disc 4 is, like, one, like, castle thing. I could be misremembering it, but that's how I remember it. Yeah, so like I said, I've been avoiding Sonic because I've streamed Sonic once before, but when I last streamed it was when I first started streaming, and so I decided that maybe it was okay to go back to it. I've been looking for just a little bit of the old mainstays. In particular, I've been playing a couple of games that I was having a lot of trouble with recently, and so when I have a lot of trouble, I don't get to talk as much. And if there's one thing that I know, it is that I love to talk, and so having one that I'm more familiar with allows me to do this. Hello, Xander. So yeah, FF8, like, I very much remember the final disc being, like, Ultimasia's castle, or whatever it is, and I spent so much time, like, just wandering through the castle, because I ended up getting there with all of my characters under-leveled. Oh, okay. So yeah, I ended up getting to the final castle with, like, all of my characters under-leveled, so I got there, and then, like, tried to do the final boss fight, and, you know, like, had insufficient draws and insufficient everything else, and then, like, you actually have a chance to, like, redraw all of the GFs in the final, you know, castle or whatever, but I didn't realize that until after I'd passed the point where you can do that, and so, like, I'm sitting here going, like, I don't know what to do, and, like, I just, like, kill all the bosses and don't realize that I can get all the GFs I missed, and that was dumb. Have I played Sonic in the Play Store? I don't think I know. Yeah, I'm not gonna get the good ending. I think what I figured out about the good ending, right, is that the difference between the non-good ending and the good ending is basically just like whether Robotnik is, you know, happy with you or whatever. I don't care. This is like, you know, pretty much all of my, like, good ending caring is just so low. In the same way that I don't care about 100% completion, I don't care about 3 stars, I just don't care about any of these things. So, I'm just gonna play through it normal. We're gonna roll our way to victory and just play through, you know, straight through. So yeah, I had not played Sonic in the Play Store. Wow, there's like a wall there that's invisible. Because I just can't bring myself to care the way I should. Yeah, so one thing to note is if you are missing any GFs because you missed them earlier in the game, you can absolutely get them in the final castle before you get to the final boss. So every like, you know, mini boss type thing that you fight in the castle, make sure you check all of their draws, check all the draw points you can get. And don't risk missing out like your foolish friend CPG did. As a result, I've never actually finished FF8 because that final boss just kicked my butt. Yeah, exactly, GGC. So that's to me, that is definitely not worth, you know, doing extra work. Is the game audio good? Am I super quiet? I kind of made it a little bit quiet, I think. So I'm gonna turn it up. The sound is way out of sync. With my voice or with the game? Let's try something real quick. Try that and that. Hello, Down Phoenix. So hopefully it's a little bit better now. Maybe, maybe not. See what you think. You gotta tell me. The game audio is like 4 seconds off? Wow. That's weird. I misspelled Dervish. Oh man. Game audio is still a couple seconds behind? I don't know what to do now. Okay. I will try, basically, just give me 1 second again. 1 moment, I'll be back momentarily. So, you can let me know if this seems better. I don't know if it's going to or not, but let me know if that seems better. If not, then I'm kind of out of ideas. But yes, so had I misspelled it, I guess it is shorter characters if it's spelled right. Audio's still out of sync. Is it out of, so game audio is out of sync, like when I jump, it's out of sync? I don't know what to do, like, I'm just using normal OBS sound capture. I'm not doing anything special. Yeah, absolutely, Orioles Kid. I emulate all of my games. I know that it's not purist of me, but it is absolutely something that I do because fighting with hardware is not my thing. As long as my voice is in sync, I'm happy. Selfie Raid, hello, Mike Ryawolf. Yeah, it's not like I'm using a capture card. Like I'm listening to the game as I play it. There really is no excuse. Hello, Sophie Raiders, Sophie Brecca, my lovely friend. It's good to see you. Sonic is emulating a real video game. Sonic is a perfectly reasonable video game. I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, my thing changed orders. Hello, Green World. Welcome, welcome. Welcome, friends and family, one and all. Sophie Brecca, another streamer on YouTube Gaming, one that I've had the pleasure to meet again and again, well, at least twice, at VidCon and at PAX East, works for a game development company as her day job, but also is a lovely streamer, big fan of Castlevania, Assassin's Creed, and other things like that. Mike Rinston, welcome, welcome. And so her viewers are my friends too, is what I like to say, because you're all friends of mine. As far as your i5 handheld thing, you really don't have to worry about it. What was released over the past little while was that there is a security hole in Intel chips, but only if you have the AMT remote management software turned on. But it is a pretty bad bug because this allows a remote attacker to influence things at a level that your OS can't even possibly see. It turns out that, you know, as CPU chipsets have gotten more complex, hello, the demon, hello. Are you allowed to request games? Absolutely, there's a game request form in the link in the description below, Orioles Kid. So if you look in the links in the description below, there's a thing that says request a game form, and you can put games in that request form. I don't know, like, I won't necessarily play them, but you can definitely put them out. Tonight, of course, we're going to be playing Sonic all night long. I've got Sonic 1, 2, and 3 and Knuckles if we get that far, although I'm doubting it. And so, yeah, it's good to see all you Sophie folks, as usual and as always. Friends of mine. But yeah, so I do not understand why the game audio would be out of sync, given that I am just capturing audio from my desktop. It does not make a lot of sense to me. I guess I could try and restart Fusion. That would be the only thing. Like, I quit OBS and restarted it. I stopped streaming and restarted it. I did all these things, so. Long delays, as far as I know. Well, thank you very much, Caleb Cartier. So you should also tell me if that noise, that sub noise was different, or if it was just Fusion. So yeah, so chat delays should be better now, as far as I was told as of today. I'm guessing the fact that you're asking probably means that they're not, so I guess there may be more for me to look into, but the intent was, it was very loud, right, I should turn that down. I always run into this problem. I think it's because OBS always maximizes sound again. Sorry about that. That should be a little bit better. I have made that 1/3 as loud as it was. Alright, get out of here, you stupid turtle thing. I hate that I can't spin dash. Turtle thing. Yes, that's right. Worms, turtles, they're all the same. It was loud. That's the key. Sonic gave you troubles. I mean, this is only the second world. So we got some distance to go here yet, but we're gonna keep on going. But yeah, so the intent was supposed to be that as of today, chat delays would be better. As of today, half of users should also see the YouTube gaming chat no longer having as many errors. So that's another thing. Hello, Caleb. Well, I'm happy to have you here. I'd say hello like I haven't already said your name 3 times. Sorry. I'm a little bit silly sometimes. I just get into this thing where I'm just like reading the messages and then I talk and everything else like that. So yeah, so far we have fixed the YouTube gaming web interface. Why am I like waiting for this thing? I've got invincibility, goddammit. So yeah, so gaming web should be fixed. Gaming mobile should be better for about 50% of people, and we went up from 20% to 50% today, so I'm hoping 100% tomorrow, and we're back to normal and not having 500 errors constantly. So that's my hope. I don't know if we'll get there, but that's the hope. Hello, Modern Retro Gaming, and everybody else, all of you people here. Oh my god, it's so exciting. I love having you all here. Okay, so we're still out of sync on the sound, right? That was the kind of, I'm gonna listen to myself here. Just one second. I have to hear what's going on so I can learn what to do. We're back to normal and not having 500 people, and we went up from 20% to 50% today, so I'm hoping 100% tomorrow, and we're back to normal. Okay, so that's like a 2-second delay. That's really annoying. So here's what we're gonna do. We're going to save state. We're going to exit Fusion. We're gonna reload Fusion, and we're gonna see if it gets better. All right, load ROM. All right, so now, I'll go back over here, and I will click play. 500 errors. All right, so now that's not even close. What the hell is going on, you stupid game? Whatever, I don't know. So I am probably going to play Sonic 2 if I get there. I have no idea why the game audio is so off. I have literally restarted like every part of the game that I can think to restart, and I don't know what else to do. So we're just gonna have to live with a delay, I guess. It's so strange. Like I cannot. I don't know enough. Like, I'm a pretty good computer guy, and I cannot guess what else I should be doing here. Hello. Oh, why did somebody say Oh, okay, there you go. I'm so confused. I was so confused. All right. Hello, Proto Sam. Hello, everybody. I should simulate the sound effects. Boink, boink, chink. So yeah. So did you have chat speed problems today? I don't know if that question got through. I was just kind of babbling and babbling and babbling. Delete system 32. Yeah, I think I should delete C:/ and see if that works. I mean, realistically, the only thing I can think of at this point would be restarting my computer in its entirety, which seems like a overkill choice for this particular problem. If I download more RAMs, that might work. The problem when I download more RAMs, though, is that then it becomes the year of the RAM, and that's just trouble. Like, we all know that RAMs are trouble when you get the year of the RAM involved. Okay, let's not do that. Okay, so I would love to know more details as you have them. The current state, yeah, so things we fixed recently. One, on desktop we were seeing sometimes long delays where it would take up to 10 seconds for chat messages to be delivered. That is supposed to be fixed. We were seeing 500 errors. Well, initially we were seeing many messages simply not be delivered and never be told. So we fixed that by adding error messaging. And then everyone realized that, oh my god, half of my error messages are getting dropped on the floor silently. And so we fixed that. And then so we fixed that on web, and now we're rolling out the same change to mobile. And once that's rolled out 100% to mobile, the expectation is that chat will be back in a mostly... Oh yeah, and we figured out that the experimental flags that we used on MWeb, so if you were loading the pop-out chat, would also be broken. So we had to fix pop-out chat separately from the web chat. So then we fixed that, and once we fixed that, we're working on mobile. And then finally we'll be done. So over a minute is weird. I don't know what's causing that, and so I will have to keep an eye out and see if I can reproduce it or see it. I have been keeping a closer eye on these things, but I will admit that it's not always perfect, so. I mean, I think the reality of Proto Sam is that you may just have information in your brain that you cannot get out, that you will never ever need. That's just a fact of life that we all have to deal with. I know the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 level select code as well, which is a modified Konami code. You know, BA, BA, up, down, BA, left, right, BA, select, start, for 2-player mode, of course. Like, these are things that you can never forget. And the reality is that they're not taking up that much of anything. You probably do know that Andrew Jackson was alive before the Civil War, which puts you in a better position than our current president. Although he did issue a tweet to explain that of course he knew that Andrew Jackson died before the Civil War, even though his comments earlier in the day did not indicate in any way that he knew that, and rather that he thought that Andrew Jackson could have prevented the Civil War. Of course, the fact that when Andrew Jackson died, he owned 150 men, women, and children is sort of, you know, the opposite of that. Well, thank you very much, Modern Retro Gaming. This is the hat I always wear, though. You've seen this before, right? Politics status on. We can turn the politics status on. You want politics status on? We can do that. Bring it on, man. I'm not drinking tonight, so I'll fight you on politics all night long. I mean, we don't need to have it all night long, but I think that in this particular case, I think commenting on the stupid statements made by the President of the United States can't always be politics anymore. Sometimes it's just pop culture. At this point, we're just in such a destroyed and distraught situation that you can't look at all of these things as political maneuvers in the same way. Just because Donald Trump does it doesn't mean it's political. Talk to us about politics. I mean, we're living in a political world, I guess. I don't know. Oh, come on! I was in a ball. Oh, you and hello, Poseidon's Will. Good to see you. Playing some Sonic the Hedgehog tonight, and we're just about to die. Oh, I made it through there. That's good. No, I mean, we're currently attempting to take away healthcare from millions of people. The budget is not really a budget. You know, Mr. Trump is very much acting as a real estate developer would, and he makes all of these prospectuses, and prospectuses are good. You know, they're designed to attract attention and investors and everything else like that. The problem is that, like, in the case of government, you're kind of supposed to have something other than that. In real estate, you can just kind of get investors to invest and then hand the details off to somebody else. But when you're the president, you're kind of expected as the leader of your party and everything else like that to take a more active leadership role. And the reality is that Donald Trump has never really done that. This is a man who, you know, got money from his family, who has never really held a, you know, normal-ish job. Has never worked a retail job, you know, has mostly just been a con man for his entire life. So, you know, being a con man is a very different job from being president. You know, Trump commented earlier this week that he was very surprised by how hard being president is, a fact which, of course, is a surprise to no one except for him. So, what's my name? Well, my name is kind of in my channel. Since it does say Chris Plays Games, my name is Chris, so I don't just lie about that. Hello, disguise. I mean, the lobbyist thing, like, that's less whatever. I'm also personally, like, a little bit rolling my eyes at the upset that many people have about Obama receiving money for speeches. I realistically think that, you know, I basically said this in my opportunistic CPG rant. I believe that taking advantage of opportunities in order to create greater good is a perfectly reasonable thing. If by taking advantage of the fact that you fools are willing to give me money, I can give more money to other creators, you know, that's a cool thing. If Obama can take money from Wall Street and use that money for good in the form of a charity or anything else like that, or even just to pay off debts, I don't have a problem with that. I realize there are some people who have had problems with this type of thing forever. They believe that, you know, presidents should essentially swear a pauper's oath because otherwise they'll be encouraged while they're in office to do things that will affect their speaking fees and so on after they leave office. I just don't think that that's that reasonable of an expectation for presidents. I feel like for the most part we hire people who are better at their job than that. I mean, obviously there are exceptions in the form of our current commander-in-chief, who does not appear to be particularly qualified to do anything in the job that he has been hired to do. God damn it. I was hoping I'd figure out a way to stay away from that and still be quick, but it turns out I was not. Yes, we killed an alpha gremlin. Good job. Keep on killing those monsters. The more we talk, the more we kill. The more we kill, the more fake internet points everyone will get. So keep talking back and forth. Enjoy things. Chuck Connor was great. I don't know who that is. But yes, being president is harder than expected. Who knew? I will do a face reveal. So yeah, there's a bunch of people who are criticizing President Obama because he has been giving, you know, a couple of $400,000 a pop speeches to Wall Street, exactly the thing that Hillary Clinton was criticized for, of course, so. Fake internet points are the best. I feel like I just did this level. I'm confused. These levels all look alike after a while. But we do have a dragon coming in, so the dragons give you extra fake internet points. The fake internet points for the dragon, whoever kills it gets the claw next to their name. So you're going to want to make sure that you toss a comment into the chat in the next few minutes. So it's not just Fox News. He also falsely claimed that he stopped watching CNN recently. So that says that he is definitely still watching CNN. But yes, Fox and Friends is definitely one of his favorites. You've also got other morning news shows. Dental plan, Lisa needs braces. Dental plan, Lisa needs braces. Thank you very much for that. Oh, good God, good golly. Good God golly. Hold on, let me check which button is which. Okay. So I'm a little bit short on extra lives, and I'm pretty sure I have no continues. Do you start with continues? I don't remember. GGC would know. I don't know if he's here still, but GGC, do I start with continues? I mean, what's not wrong with Fox News? Fox News is a very biased news source in general. But in general, there's actually not a problem with getting your news even from a biased news source. The problem in this case is that President Trump has access to some of the best information gathering agencies in the world, collecting information on all types of things. And it seems like he tends to, you know, watch Fox News in the morning, and whatever they say, he treats as gospel truth. It has been, you know, cases that have been pointed out so repeatedly that it's almost a joke that, you know, for some shows you can just predict that what Trump's news comments in the morning will be based on whatever is on Fox News. You can diet to being within 15 minutes of when it's on Fox and Friends most of the time. And that's unreasonable for anyone, because you should always get your news from a balanced diet of news sources. You should never, oh, good God! You should never, you know, just use one news source, because there's always the chance of bias. Everyone is biased. Basically, all news sources are going to have some bias, and you're going to want to live with that. But you want to make sure that you feed from a reasonably balanced diet of different information sources to counteract that. As the president, you have this responsibility triply so, and to have President Trump not take advantage of that is just crazy. He is given a briefing every morning by some of the smartest people in the world about the topics of what's going on in the world today, and the fact that instead he chooses to, you know, listen to whatever is said on Fox is just sad. It would be sort of like, you know, if the way that I got my YouTube news was only by listening to Casey Neistat and H3H3 Productions, right? Like, that would be sad. I work at YouTube. I have access to the CEO of YouTube at times. I should maybe, like, figure out some of the things from our internal messaging, but Trump appears to have taken the tactic that he doesn't believe that he should listen to the internal messaging, because I don't know why. This makes no sense to me. Hey, Blake, how's it going? Exactly, right? So Falcon Man, you should expect that, like, anything that you care about, you would do that amount of due diligence and research, right? This is the most powerful man in the world. He has the ability to destroy companies with a stroke of the tweet, and yet here he sits, ignoring the information sources he has in favor of, like, random ass comments from people on Fox News. It's crazy. Makes no sense. I am just terrible. I've had a terrible day, both for personal reasons and for work reasons. It's been very stressful, and I'm enjoying playing some Sonic, although I keep getting pinched by these stupid things. So, you know, yeah, it was always the case that I did not ever think that W would be the person I looked back on as, you know, one of the better presidents in my lifetime. But Donald Trump is making me lack the courage of my convictions in many ways. And that is one of them. Alright. Alright. We're good. But yeah, so I'm just trying to hang out here. Unfortunately, our stream is being sad on us, right? So we've got, like, weird brokenness with the game audio. I don't know what to do with that. How often do I go pants shopping? Effectively never. My parents tend to buy me new pants for Christmas a lot, so in practice I get new pants about, like, a new pair of pants about once a year. Mrs. CPG has also at times bought me, you know, a different type of pants, and whenever she finds something that I will wear, she tends to go a bit hog wild on buying a bunch of them. Pants shopping, not pan shopping. That's a different thing. I don't know that Trump is... my hope is that Trump is not going to lead to a downfall of America. It's hard to tell at the moment, but my hope is that he will not. That we are stronger than that. I do love pans. I actually don't. Yeah, exactly, Blake. That's my hope too. We've already got 15 people here. We got a Sophie raid. We got some new people hanging out here asking me if they could, like, you know, suggest games and other things like that. So hopefully we're good. Pre-apocalyptic. I don't know which phrase you're referring to, but there is that. I mean, pre-apocalyptic is where you get your CPUs from, right? Right, Mark? Well, thank you very much, Mrs. CPG. I tried. If he doesn't want to come in, just let him roam the house. I will... Oh, you got him? Here comes Orange Cat.
Hello, Internet. Say hi to the Internet. Say hi. Say hi. Grandma wants you to say... Yeah. Take trouble?
What's that? Take trouble. Hello, trouble. Oh!
There we
Alright. And a cat, that's right. Ah, yes. Pre-apocalyptic. The cat's not that giant. Why is it the cow dizzles always convince my cats that are giant? Oh, she screamed because the cat escaped. The cat has a tendency when he is at our house to pee on everything. And his litter box is in here, so doubly so I'm attempting to keep him in here because I keep the door closed when I'm streaming so I don't keep everyone in the house awake. And so having him not be in the room is a problem, so she had to rescue him. Oh, I should turn the game back on. What, you want to watch the game and not just me blabbing, you weirdos? It's not a large, like, that's just the size cats are. But yes, hello. So Mrs. CPG has walked out of the room, but I am sure that she will poke her head in momentarily to say hi to all of you lovely people. Hello, Splatoon Pro. He is a more cuddly kitty than either of our other two. But at the moment, he is very much in the, like, I am trapped in this room, please let me out. Which is not going to happen because he pees on everything. So this is really his own fault. Okay, I don't want to stand on that because it would kill me. So the cat box was just filled for the first time today. So it does not have, I believe he has not yet even shat in it. So it does not yet have the cat piss smell. Go back to face. What's up with the lack of Sonic fanness? I'm really confused by this, because I've always been a big fan of Sonic. He's like the one superhero that has never failed me. I mean, superhero may be a bit too much. So one of the things I actually saw last night was I got to see a actual hedgehog. So at Alicia's school, of course, at Hampshire, many of the students have emotional support animals, and one of the emotional support animals was a hedgehog named Sonica. She was female rather than male cat, but I do have most of our clean laundry in the basement to avoid this issue, but I mean, Superman is just a bit of a, like, douche nozzle. Like, he's got this whole Lois Lane thing, but he doesn't really, like, doesn't he? I don't know. The whole situation just feels kind of exploitative. Also, he's an alien, and so he holds up this, like, standard of beauty and perfection that really can't be topped by any human. So you're dealing in a situation where, like, you know, oh yes, here's Superman, here to save the day. Well, really, he's an alien, and you're, like, setting this unreasonable, like, body maintenance standard and everything else like that. It's really just unfair to the human, like, people who want to be superheroes like Bruce Wayne. I mean, it just feels kind of sad. Alright, I need a ring. Somebody give me a ring. That's not a ring. Oh, God! That's fire. I don't want fire. I want a ring. Okay, I'll go down here and get a ring. I have not played Superman 64, but that is a good point as well. I believe Superman 64 is along the lines of E.T., one of those really terrible games that everybody hates, right? I don't know, something like that. Oh god, see? Oh, I got my ring back though. Alright, we're all good. Don't let that kill me. Alright, give me my ring back. Thank you. Went through all the trouble to get it. I mean, the reality is that I don't know how fast hedgehogs are. I have only seen them standing still, being held and cuddled in someone's arms, so I'm not convinced that he is setting an unreasonable speed standard. Also, I'm not convinced hedgehogs have the same level of, like, expectations around body image, so I don't know. Not fast enough. Hello, Pluffaduff. If you like it, then you should have put a ring on it. If you like it, then you should have put a ring on it. Oh, 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 oh. Alright, get out of here. Get me some of that. Oh, I should have grabbed that air. Give me an air bubble. Air bubble, air bubble, air bubble. Where are you? There we go. That is a totally reasonable question. Also, how am I still invincible? Okay, I was like, I feel like this is a really long invincibility. I guess it's just because the music stopped because I was dying, so. This drowning music? Sorry, I had to cancel it because otherwise I was gonna die, and I didn't want to die because I only have 2 lives and I have not gotten any more, and I'm pretty sure I have no continues, so this is gonna be an interesting run here. I'm gonna do a no continues, no anything else run. Yeah, so our daughter doesn't lie. She is very straightforward about the fact that her cat is not in any way certified, but emotional support animals, of course, don't need to be certified. It's just a better way of saying pet. So emotional support animals can be obtained at Hampshire with the support of a letter from a therapist. I don't know. The whole thing, I don't know. I am not hugely in favor of this way of doing things. I feel like it's just a way to have pets in dorms with an excuse. That's how I feel. Wow, how did I just go through that? That feels like a flipping issue in the game. Alright, I need 14 more rings without getting hit. Low pop? Oh god. Hello, Sonic-y-Mas, ¿cómo estás? Alright, I do have a bubble. Let's get back over here and grab some air. Fuck! Alright, we'll get some air. We'll wait here. Okay, there we go. Why am I not cheating? I haven't needed to cheat yet. I mean, also I am cheating. I'm just not cheating hardcore enough. God damn it. I want an emotional support dragon. That's what I want. What? Oh! Is this seriously how the game is gonna end? I'm gonna end on this level right here. Ugh. Yeah, I clearly am not cheating hard enough. Yeah, I mean, I don't really care about the fact that, like, they have pets, but if the rule in the dorm is no pets, but you can have an emotional support animal, like, I feel like that's kind of violating the spirit, like, okay, so you can only have an animal if you get a therapist to say that you need to have an animal for, like, emotional reasons? Like, how about just everyone has an emotional reason to have a pet? Like, how about I feel like having a pet is a good reason to have a pet? Like, that's where I get into trouble. Like, I feel like it's unfair because it encourages people to either be, like, misleading or just to, you know, go without because they're not sufficiently, you know, fucked in the head. And I don't feel like that's fair. I feel like, you know, people who don't feel like they're sufficiently fucked in the head to go to a therapist and ask for a pet may still want one. And to not provide them that opportunity makes me a little bit sad. Emotional support AI. Yes, I need my emotional support AI. So yeah, as far as the apocalypse coming, so one of the things that's announced recently is that Intel is working on patching through firmware a problem with their chipsets, which allows unauthorized access through their I don't know, external management toolset that is performed by an on-chipset an on-chipset like management piece of software. So this piece of software basically allows for remote, in this case, remote attackers to take over your machine if it's turned on. And because of the level that it works at, there's absolutely nothing you can do in the OS to stop it. Because the OS never even sees the information that would be relevant to stop it. And so it's a pretty crappy situation. Unfortunately, this flaw apparently exists in CPUs going back to 2008, which means that many of the pieces of hardware are no longer getting firmware updates from the providers from which people got them in the first place. Because this information is in general like not open source or anything else like that, there's no way that third-party developers can typically do anything about it without significant like reverse engineering efforts. And so there are a bunch of CPUs out there which are vulnerable to these attacks, which just cannot be fixed. And this just comes from, with great complexity comes great responsibility. We're dealing in a situation where our CPUs and chipsets and everything else like that are extremely complex at this point. The fact that when I buy a CPU, it also has a network driver and a graphics driver and everything else like that in it is kind of part of the problem at this point. And is what is going to be biting us in the butt in this case. Okay, god damn it. Is that gonna be enough? Aha! I did it! Sonic didn't drown. Oh god! Fuck! Okay, so that is, like, all I've got. I have 1 life now, and I've got to make it count. Yes, Kat, I know you would like to go out. If I did not find that you peed on everything, that would not be a problem, but since you do pee on everything, this is an issue for you. Instead, you are going to be trapped in here with me. Ugh! I hate this stupid thing. Alright. There we go. Torched red. I'm not too smart for anybody. No, seeing a therapist is fine, but while seeing a therapist is fine, I've talked a little bit about mental health treatment and how much of a stigma it can be. Some people, like, seeing mental health professionals is oftentimes not covered by insurance, is oftentimes like a stigma in your work environment, can be like a real problem for a lot of different reasons. And so it is generally like, I am fully accepting that while many people who do not go see a therapist probably should, I also think that many people have reasons not to do so, and it's not my place to question that. I don't think that anyone should ever feel like they are forced to, go to a therapist and to do so just because you feel like you would do better with a pet is like, I think a lot of people can say like, I'm not fucked up, I just do better when I have my cat around. And to take away that opportunity from someone because they're not willing to like go to therapy, I think is not really reasonable. I mean, I do have a save state. I have 1 save state at the beginning of this level, and I clearly need to get more aggressive with them because this is just not working well for me. The save state is the best. Well, that's why, did Google actually, I have not figured out the status of Boston Dynamics. Do we still own them? Like, that's a thing that I keep asking. I know that there's a story we were gonna sell them off, but I don't know if it was true or happened already or is going to happen. Like, I don't understand the robot world. Save states for the win. That's right. God damn it. Hello, Sonic Paradox. Man, we got all the Sonics in here tonight. It's like a Sonic party up in here. I'm failing hard at Sonic playing, so thank you, all you Sonics, for being here. I want to get up there, god damn it. God damn it! Ugh! Rudy! Screw it. Am I Marc-Andre Fleury? So, my channel name is Chris Plays Games. I'm not sure why you would think I was Marc-Andre Fleury. That feels like a weird name for someone named Chris Plays Games, but maybe I am, and I just don't know it. So you'll just have to tell me. I think the problem was that we, like, for funding them, the problem was that I think Google, like, said, no, you can't be funded by the government anymore. Like, they took away all their DARPA grants or something, and I thought that that was a problem. That was kind of my understanding of the situation. Alright, let's go ahead and go down here. No pop, no plop, no pop. Septopus is here. The RPG's hidden because I didn't feel like showing it, but it's still going on. We're still playing. Somebody killed a dragon earlier. Torched Red, I believe, was the winner of the dragon death. Anyway, hello, Radicate Gaming. Hello, hello. Hedgehog Party, that's right. How many people in here we got named Sonic? We got at least 2. We got Sonic and Imas. We got Sonic Paradox. We need like another blue baller or something like that. I feel like there's someone named that somewhere on YouTube. Alright, now we've got a continue point that won't do me any good. This time at least we avoided those spikes that killed us last time, so that's good. Die. Also you. Oh god. Okay, I thought I was gonna... Oh, okay. Oh, what's going on? I mean, I think that, like, Google made a ruling, right? I don't know. That was my impression. Google was like, no, you cannot have any more government funding. I mean, DARPA still invests heavily in robotics. I have a friend who was just involved... Oh, this might have actually been NASA funded, now that I think about it. But he has a... He basically, in a, like, all volunteer team... they put together a robot that participated in a competition out in, God damn it. That was dumb. I should have put in a save state. That's what I get. See, there you go. Yeah, okay. I'm not crazy. They do, yeah, they're still working on stuff. And don't get me wrong. It is clear that they're still working on things. I also, like, they're still, so there's like one Boston Dynamics developer who's always in the videos like attacking the robot, Kevin or something like that, and we all joke that he's like first up against the wall when the robot revolution comes is gonna be that guy. Tails is in Emerald Hill. Alright. Do I like Pokemon? I've never played Pokemon. The XKCD answer, of course, would be I'm not that into Pokemon. But yeah, so I never played Pokemon. I have actually considered streaming it. Like, just play, you know, one stream of Pokemon, see how it goes. Doing, you know, Jake Peter Memorial stream. He was a big Pokemon player who passed away recently. Was a big streamer on YouTube Gaming. And, but I have never really sat down and gotten around to it. Give me this. Give me. Gotcha. But yeah, so, Google has bought a lot of things and then decided, no, we don't really want to do that after all. What is up with this? God damn. All right, give me another bubble. Like Pokemon Red, is that one of the Game Boy versions? That was what I was looking at. Pokemon, like, Yellow, I think is what I was looking at. This Game Boy Color. Because the problem with, like, the really early ones is that, black and white gets boring really quick on streams, I feel like. My favorite Sonic game in 2D is probably, Sonic 3 and Knuckles. But, I don't know. I don't have a lot of ideas there. So I guess the NBA playoffs are going on at the moment. That's a thing. My last real experience with NBA was when I went to a Celtics game about 5 years ago with a friend. I guess they painted little inside half circles under the basket. That's kind of how long it's been since I watched the NBA in any meaningful capacity. So I was like, what are those things for? Something about you can't shove as hard when you're in them. I don't know, something like that. And, But when I was growing up, of course, I grew up in the Jordan era of the Bulls. So the Chicago Bulls were dual three-peat winners during the Jordan era. And so growing up in the 90s in Chicago, I was a big Bulls fan. I mean, the Bulls. If you're gonna be in Chicago and not be a fan of the Bulls, you're in a weird state. All right, that was a dumb idea. Note to self: don't get hit by things. Be patient. I mean, I think Mark also has robots who have proven to be out to get him in the past, so Kevin is not alone when the robot uprising comes, but he's definitely going to be one of the people in there. Okay. Oh! Oh, I didn't have to kill him? Okay, cool. Sonic CD I did not like. So we're gonna watch a quick video here, courtesy of Mark. We'll pause this real quick. Why are you not working? Just a second.
Hey Atlas, how's it going today, buddy?
Where is Box?
Oh, you want to play with Box?
Ah, what are you up to? Stupid game. Hold on.
Hey Atlas.
Why?
How's it going today,
Oh,
buddy?
I opened that in the wrong browser. I'm like, why is nothing working? 'Cause you're dumb. Okay, we'll try this again. Here we go. So this is talking a little bit about Boston Dynamics.
Hey Atlas, how's it going today, buddy?
So Atlas, of course, is the bipedal robot.
Oh, you want to play with Box again?
Yes. Where is Box?
Oh, the box is outside. You better find it before something happens to it.
Yes. I love Box.
All right, go get it. You got this.
So yeah, all of these are pulling, I think pulling from the, mostly from the videos. Yes, these are pulling all from the Boston Dynamics demo videos,
Atlas,
but
what are you
put together
doing?
in a way that indicates that they're,
Find
you know,
Box
teasing
yet?
the robot, etc.,
No.
etc.
You better keep looking.
Where is Box?
You better hurry before something happens to him.
No.
It is cold. That is true. In Boston, it is cold. Although at the moment it's not cold,
Atlas, come over
but
here. I think I see it. I think I see Box.
Box.
Whoa.
oh,
Little
poor
watch out
robot.
there, man. You gotta get those knees up, Atlas.
Box.
Man, it's freezing out of your life back inside. Hold on.
Where is Box? I love Box. Dan loves food.
Yeah. So this is Kevin taking away the box.
Box.
Come back, box.
Dan.
Whoa, watch out, Dan.
There you go.
I love Box. Where is Box?
But don't do that to robots. All right. That's it for now. Go back to the game. Yes, nightmare-inducing is a good word for it. I agree. Anyway, hello, you love boobs. I do as well. I don't know if you're talking about me or you or what, but anyway, hello, Nico. Hello, everybody. Good to see everybody, as usual. Walks better than me. Oh, no, I could have gotten an extra life, which I could really use because I don't have enough. I'm so sad. It doesn't have a tether. Why would you need a tether? Thank you very much, Sonic and More, for the subscription. I am sorry about the game audio being offset from the video. I don't know what's up with that. Oh, what? Oh, okay, that was bad. Don't do that. Rule number 1, don't do that. Take care, Sonic Moss. Have a good night. Ah, I can't get that. There's no way I can get that. You're totally ready for androids? I don't know if I'm ready for androids. I am still pretty sure I am on the edge here. No, I mean, I think like the biggest thing that's going to happen early on is that these are going to be taking over, you know, and becoming part of our automation techniques, right? So we're going to see robots who take over. I think the Amazon stacker or picker, I guess, is what they're called. Amazon pickers are probably the first people that need to be scared of robots. And eventually they'll come for us, but I think the interesting thing about the difference between the kind of 1960s sci-fi world that I was kind of raised and thought that we would be coming into is that a lot of our robotics have ended up not going the way of humanoid. Is this gonna ever stop? I don't know. No, I don't think so. Oh, you can backtrack? Okay. So I have to go away and then come back. I have never played any of the Ace Attorney games. No, I have not. I have, like, that's the objection, right? I have, so Lucifer is one of the streamers who I watch, and I had seen her play one of those, I think. But... Oh no, I was one ring short! Oh, I thought I was gonna get an extra... Continue. Alright, whatever. I mean, they're still totally teasing it, you know. Alright, we're just gonna run through it. We're just gonna keep going and hope for the best. I've never even heard of the Shadow Hearts games, so definitely not. Oh my, hi, how are you? Good. I said howdy, she said hi. Stop blowing me around, jerks. Yeah, so people anthropomorphize robots, and I think the reality is that in general, our robotic steps, I mean, Big Dog and Boston Dynamics notwithstanding, I think our robot techniques have tended towards non-anthropomorphic in a way that I did not expect from the sci-fi of my youth. So I was expecting, you know, in the early Asimov stories, they show a you know, talking robot. It's one of the things that, you know, she learns that the talking robot is just a, I don't know, is whatever. To me, like, the idea that they could have a robot that could walk and do everything else like that, but it was surprising that it could understand speech or it could do computations was a little bit surprising. Hello, Stingray! Get the hat spin in here. See if we can get through some starlight here and do so without dying a million more times. Oh! Ugh, come back here, Rings. Okay. That's all. I missed it. She's an original, an OG gangsta. Oh, seriously? Ah! Why do I keep running into things? Why can't I just go along? Why are you blowing me that way? You look like you're fanning the other way. I don't understand. I don't understand anything. Alright, so I can't touch these guys, I guess. Even if I'm in a ball. How's it going? I mean, overall, my day has been an utter pile of shit, but and my stream is broken, and the audio doesn't work, and everything is bad and terrible, and so on, and robots are taking over the world. But if you ignore all of those things, life is pretty okay. Alright, screw you, fan. I got past you this time. At some point, I'm gonna, like, save over my save state and, like, just have no anything left, and it's gonna be awesome! Alright, let's get through here. Grab whatever's down here. Nothing. Go this way. Jump over you. See, why are those there? Like, just to trick me into thinking that there's something good? So yeah, so 60s sci-fi has lied to me, shocking though this may be, and convinced me that robots would look very different than they have ended up looking. So I think robotic control has generally tended towards the, automation and mechanization, that AI has been much farther away than we thought it was, that simple problems are hard and hard problems are simple, and that we really just didn't end up doing exactly what I kind of expected we would. So that's been an interesting thing to look at. I also think one of the things that, pretty much any sci-fi story is dated by is the internet. With a few exceptions, the idea of the internet is just very strange, or the idea of how the internet would work is a very different one. There's a few things that aren't that way. A Logic Called Joe is one of my favorites, and it's basically about a computer that becomes, wants to be helpful, because of course all computers want to be helpful, and they do have an idea in there called the tank. And the tank is what I would call something like Wikipedia. So the tank is, of course, all of the information in, human knowledge, and the Logic Called Joe is the one who has figured out how to kind of put it all together and turn it into something, useful for people. So he gets in this state where, oh, there we go. I was like, what is going on? I can't go either way. All right, so this is going to reset. And so they've got, so basically this computer gets to the point where, in the same way as is kind of commonly thought about in the Accelerando, in the Singularity, he's basically figured out how to put all the information together, so that, things that would be obvious to a computer if they could put together all of the information that humankind has available to it, but not obvious to humans, suddenly become obvious to humans. And so this happens when he's like, here's how to commit murder and get away with it. So you can just ask the computer any question, and the logic service will give you an answer. And it's a kind of cool idea, but that's one of the few things that has an idea of this like universal store of human knowledge that's just out there and accessible, and instantly accessible, right? Like for a fee, anyone can get access to any piece of information. And that was just such a strange idea for most sci-fi in the 60s, that you could just do that. Exactly. I think the one query that Jess has in her Siri history is something along the lines of like, Siri, what kind of plastic tub should I buy in order to dissolve a body, or something along those lines, from a McSweeney's article. And she did not realize her phone was, nearby and listening to her at the time. And so, just ask this question, and Siri is like, I'm sorry, I don't have any results for that. Which is just one of those, when the cops come for me, that this is going to be one of the questions they're going to ask, is like, why is this in your Siri history? Which is, of course, why we need internet privacy, which Congress has recently gutted, unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, not Congress, I guess the FCC. No, Congress, right? I think Congress did that. I'm trying to remember if it's Congress or the FCC. I think it was Congress, because they were using the CRA for that one. I mean, I think one of my favorite stories in that vein is actually the Bicentennial Man. So the Bicentennial Man tells a story of a robot, one of the last robots that actually was purchased rather than licensed from US Robotics in Asimov's world. And the kind of transitions that he goes through 200 years of life. Yeah, the title kind of, it's a good book. I mean, I don't think we need 20 years for bipedal robots. That's not the hard part. I think that the Big Dog and the Boston Dynamics stuff is definitely... It really is showing that robots can be better than humans at walking as well. The terrain that the robots are walking in and getting pushed around and then just like standing back up is definitely something that most humans would be a little bit cranky at you if you tried to pull on them. So I think that we're already in a situation where robots can walk just as well as humans if you put enough money and everything else like that into them. But the reality is that it just hasn't been the focus, right? Like, construction robots don't have to look like humans in order to be effective at doing their job. And that's really the world that we live in, is that construction robots are kind of what the world needs, not bipedal robots that, like, being bipedal is just not really a good shape. But that's just one of the ways I think Asimov's picture of robots really fell short of the mark, is because bipedal robots was definitely his shtick, and it just didn't end up being really the way the world works. God damn it. Yes. I mean, cell phones have basically contributed to the downfall of modern society in so many ways. First, they have contributed to a lack of communication and understanding from individuals to individuals. And second, of course, they are contributing to the downfall of society when we're all killed by Terminators. So, you know, we've got cell phones to thank for all of these things. Oh no! Why did I get hit by something? Hello, LJ Artistic Intentions! This is a throwback for sure. Well, I'm happy to have you here throwing it back with me. I am just sucking it up tonight, so I don't think at this rate we're going to be making it to Sonic 3. Maybe we might not make it to Sonic 2 at this rate. I might just be on this level for the rest of the evening. Oh god. Oh, Van Helsing, that's... It's unfortunate that she called for you instead of, I guess, asking you, maybe? Because I feel like that's... I mean, actually, suicide prevention tools inside of websites like Google, YouTube, inside Siri, etc. are actually one of the things about the internet that I'm really thankful for. I think that it is probably true that a number of lives have been saved by being more aggressive about getting people to resources that they need in response to threats of suicide. It's one of the things that was most difficult for us when we were doing live journal support, about the fact that we couldn't always help people. You know, we couldn't always get to people in time, or we didn't always have the resources. So if you're on a phone, like making it so that you are connected to a suicide prevention hotline, most of the time it may be a joke, and I'm sure that that's frustrating for people who work those lines. But at the other hand, I think that that probably saves a lot more lives than it, you know, destroys by making people a little bit uncomfortable with a phone call they have to take. So that's really something that I think is probably a net good in the world, by allowing computers to kind of interpret our actions and take actions that we would trust very few other humans to take. Oh, god damn it. Alright, what's going on here? I don't trust this. I mean, so the problem is with 100% accuracy, I think the downside is that, it depends on whether you have control to stop it, right? So 100% accuracy is great, but 100% accuracy doesn't mean, does not mean that you're in a situation where, you know, you're necessarily going to have complete control. So yes, this is exactly what I thought, but not exactly what I wanted. It's the kind of classical, you know, Mayor Daley in Chicago, what did the reporter say? Write what he meant to say, not what he said. So the same thing is there, and this is always kind of the issue with the three wishes, genies, and other things like that as well, is that you get into a situation where if you've got something which is reading your mind, you've got issues there. But assuming that, you know, you can just take and have complete control over it, and that you don't have any risks of, you know, nighttime thoughts, or you have a sufficient level of confirmation that you're not going to be at risk, I think that that's absolutely something that would be useful. I mean, I have no problem with BCIs in theory, but... It's hot out here! Hello, Frank Master Zed! Alright, made it through that. Oh man, see, this is what I was missing. With Sonic, I can just lay back and just babble my brain out, and yes, I suck at the game, as I demonstrated, but I can get something from it. You got 20 people watching right now? Is that right? Is that right? Holy cow, it is right. That's magic. It's like some kind of miracle. Why did I just walk right into the pit? How about I just do that again? And again, and again, and again. You were the star of my dreams. I've always wanted to be the star of Brad Pritchard's dreams, but he never lets me. He's always talking about the page man Avery Johnson, or gaming lawyer, or some other superhero that he's got on his baseball team, or something else like that. All I am is a golf player. Yes, we killed the Wake Elemental. Excellent. Alan Young, good to see you. I don't know. I'm not sure that you count as a real person at this point, Alan. That's very different. He does have great branding. I mean, who wouldn't want to be associated with pagers, especially in this day and age? It's really the critical feature in just about any modern telecommunications system is the pager. So without that, what can you do? Okay, so here's the thing. I think I figured it out. The last time I played this game, I had not yet implemented rule number 4 of CPG. CPG should always cheat. This is why it took me so long to beat it. So, yeah. Anyway, it's good to see you, Alan. Happy to have you here. And everybody else. It is good to see you. You could be AlphaGo. I mean, AlphaGo, I think, is proving... It is actually interesting. So I talked to a friend who is big in the Go scene. So he runs the American Go Association YouTube channel and was very much involved in the AlphaGo kind of reporting into the American media market. And one of the things that was interesting to me is just how depressed people were over AlphaGo's win. You know, because Go is this, you know, very almost spiritual thing among, you know, the Asian community. This is something that was not just like a computer program, you know, being good at something. This was like destroying their idea of like an entire philosophy of life in a way that I really did not have a good comprehension of. So, you know, hearing that was kind of made me sad, you know, like Google's doing all this kind of great technology research and doing things that people thought wouldn't be possible for, you know, decades or anything else like that. But, okay. I was like, there's nothing here for me to hit. I don't know what to do. Alright. And, so it's really interesting to kind of see that play out, you know, in not real time necessarily, but through the communities that I'm now a part of, and be sad about it, you know, like as much as I am a big fan of triumphs of the human spirit, I also realize that these things can be sad and scary, and I don't ever want things to be sad and scary for people. You know, a coworker of mine said, basically, anytime you see Google doing something a little bit odd, just assume that what they're doing is attempting to replace all human knowledge. So I don't know if you've seen, wow, that was nice. Oh, sorry, Go is a board game. So the American Go Association is the American organization that reports on and acts as an emissary to the Americas for the Go board game. So the Go board game is very similar, well, it's similar in thought to chess, but it's a much larger problem space. You have this whole kind of, like a cross between Othello and chess, I guess, only much more complicated. That's a really terrible description of Go, but it's really all I've got, so, okay. I was like, what do I do? I'm gonna go this way. To Rich Man's Othello. So yeah, I mean, so that's the AlphaGo, was actually one of my, I think, earlier CPG, like, topics. So that was when AlphaGo won against Lee Sedol, one of the top-rated Go players. This was a major blow to kind of the Asian spirit and the sense of the game back then. So yeah, so it looks like Othello, but it's a much more complicated game. It's an incredibly dense problem space. You know, there are more possible Go boards than there are, you know, atoms in the universe or something along those lines. So exploring that problem space is a very complex thing for a computer to do, and the belief was that it would be a long time before computers could be competitive with humans. But it turns out, of course, that as has so often been the case in things that are intended to be triumphs of the human spirit, they were wrong. So this is one of the things I've been talking about with Jose. Jose, of course, is a big fan of allowing computers to live his life for him, but is also a big fan of using computers to make our lives better. You know, so one of the things I commented on is that, you know, computer-drawn art. So one of the things is that's come about recently is, I think, a program called what's it called? Auto sketch, auto draw, auto something else like that. So basically you sketch line drawing, and then YouTube or Google will go ahead and say like, oh, here's some clip art that is like what you want. So like you try and draw a cat, and it's like, here's cat clip art that you might want to use because it seems like you're trying to draw a cat. And this idea, and if any of you have played, what was it called? Draw Freely, Drawful, Quick Draw. So Quick Draw was Google's like version of basically playing this game. Like, okay, draw a toothbrush. And it would basically use the information about you drawing a toothbrush as a way to learn, okay, when someone draws something like this, this is what a toothbrush looks like, and feed it into a neural network, because that's what Google does with all information. And that process puts you in a place where, you know, we are attempting to remove human judgment to some extent. And so there's this like fear, like, well, you know, artistry is going to be taken over by you know, this space. But the reality is that like artists, like the biggest thing that artists will be able to do, no matter how good something is that most people just don't know what they want. They don't know what a good color scheme looks like. They don't know what they don't know. And so that's a thing where I think human judgment is still going to be a thing for quite a while yet, is helping humans understand the things that they don't know they don't know. That was close. And be able to do something about it. So, you know, rather than having the argument with the artist about whether, god damn it, I really should have saved, about whether, you know, they know better from art school or anything else like that, then they will be able to do that. So yeah, no problem, Alan. Sorry, I just saw your comment. Hello, E-Prestige. I hadn't seen you there. Used to read a manga based on Go players. Oh, fuck! Fuckity fuck fuck fuck. But yes, thank you very much, LJ Artistic Intentions, and I can't words. Just pretend that I can, because that's the best thing to do. Just pretend that I can words. I do it all the time, so I don't see why you can't. Oi! Alright. Some rings in here. All gonna make me act a fool up in here, up in here. Oh, there's no ring? I got 57. Come on. Oh, Idris. So he's like their Steve Millet mark? Is that how I should think about this? Alright. Lots of save state in this time. Get up here, up here. It really should blend in more. I mean, if he's the director of testing, I do feel like he should, you know, maybe ask one of his underlings to be the next one to beat up the robot. I mean, I think the reality, of course, is that he just likes beating up the robot, because if you work in a technological field, of course, you always want to show, like, how effective your tool is. You want to show how great things are. And if you're not thinking like a human, and are instead thinking like a robot, or rather if you're thinking like a software developer, which is also often not that different, you know, this is the type of thing that is really, you know, cool. You're like, oh, look, I can hit the robot and he stands back up, you know. But I do think those videos are produced by someone who just realizes exactly what they're doing at this point and just does it for maximum shock value. Like, there's no longer an excuse that you didn't know what you were getting into at this point. I don't buy it anymore. I mean, I'm doing okay. I mean, realistically, the situation here is that what I should have been doing was investing more in the early stages of getting continues, since continues could have helped me do other things. But instead, I just cheat. I mean, that's my game. Rule number 4 is CPG. CPG should always cheat. So if I wasn't cheating, what would I be doing with my life? Not the right thing. That is the answer. Oh, what? Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry, John Vincent. So one of the things that I want to do is, I feel like not knowing you're not live kind of sucks. And so what I want to do is have all of our players display like a gray, like not live symbol in the upper left corner anytime you're not live. Does that seem reasonable? Like, I don't know how does like if you're on TiVo, I guess like you realize that you end up on DVR mode, so it's not the same comparison, but I feel like people oftentimes don't realize that they're behind and want to be live, and I feel like we should do something about that. Research chemicals, is that like heroin and cocaine, or are we talking about a different kind of research? Oh, fuckity fuck nuts. I didn't give my ring. Oh, I got my ring. Haha! So the only problem that I can see with it is that, like, if you want to take a screenshot of something, it'll always have that little widget there, but I don't know how much I care. Like, screenshots of non-live things in a live stream, like, while a stream is still live, doesn't seem like a major problem. Oh, brand ecstasy. The best kind of ecstasy. I mean, for me, LJ, like, it's entirely about, like, I'm a big fan of cheating just because I feel like it increases the, enjoyment of the stream, right? Watching me fail at the same level over and over again just because that's more pure is just not enjoyable. Like, would it be nice if I went ahead and spent time learning how to speedrun these games or whatever else like that so that you could just watch, like, this awesome player? Absolutely. Like, that's something that I should, you know, feel bad for not doing. But since I don't, I just would rather continue to show more of the game. Because watching me fail at the same thing over and over gets boring. Or at least it gets boring for me, so I assume it must for other people. Alright, what do you got going for me here? I think it's interesting to watch me struggle up to a point. But like, Brad, for example, your bridge example the other day where you spent like an hour and a half and never finished that bridge, I felt like that was excessive. So I feel like the level where I save at the beginning of the level, and so you still get to watch me fail, but watch me fail as if I had infinite lives rather than one, I feel like that's a trade-off that I make. And I try not to get to the point where I save state, you know, in every room until I'm failing really hard. So I try to constantly make those trade-offs. Like, I think with Unravel, I made a few trade-offs that were more than I would have in favor of making the game seem easy just because of timing. Because basically it would have been a 5.5-hour stream if I included, you know, a kind of average level failing. So yeah, it's a constant trade-off, you know, which thing do you want? I mean, Bridge Simulator is hilarious, but... yeah, so I just try and make sure that I'm failing in different ways. So failing in a way that, like, you see me fail for a little while and then I get somewhere else, etc. is there. And this is why I don't, like, auto save state every 10 seconds or, you know, do anything else like that, because that just feels like cheap. Everyone needs to know I suck. I mean, to be fair, I don't really suck as much as I used to. There are certainly some games that I can just play through Mega Man 2 at this point without cheating. And beat it in about an hour and 15 minutes. Like, that's a lot better than I used to be able to do, and there are some other games that I'm pretty decent at as well. I know that there's this myth of like, oh, CPG should always cheat and blah, 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 but really it's about, like, striking that balance in pretty much everything I do, so... Every 1 to 10 minutes. So yeah, I try and make a reasonable trade-off between being cheap about everything and everything else like that. I was trying to breathe. I was trying. Ah, I missed him. Take care, Brad. Yeah, Zio, they definitely are. I mean, they're clearly intentional anxiety inducing, right? Like, that is the entire intent, so. Oh, come on. Nothing. So Super Mario 3 is one of your good at games, right, Stingray? I feel like I heard that at one point. When I say I heard that, I feel like you told me that. Yeah, and this game is definitely a challenge. I mean, this is kind of, I think, typical of the Sega era. So, you know, limited lives, limited continues, but you do have the ability to gain more, which is one of the differences between this and kind of earlier Nintendo games where you would just be stuck with 2 continues and nothing you could do about it. Oh, god damn it. Celsa Louise, my friend, my friend. I mean, I think that it's like with any game. Oh, you're talking about Silent Hill, sorry. I thought you were saying this game. So I would say I'm good at Mega Man. Mega Man 2 is one of them. I'm getting better at Mega Man or Super Mario 1 at this point. So I can typically beat Super Mario 1 with only like using the like built-in A button trick once. I think I'm probably pretty close to being able to do like a no continues run of Mega Man. Or not Mega Man, of Mario Brothers 1. I am pretty good at Wario's Woods. As I found out the other day when I streamed it for... I expected to stream it for like 15 minutes until I died, and then ended up streaming it for like an hour and a half, and like did not die at all. Pretty terrible at Tetris and Mario, Super Mario, or Dr. Mario. I have never played the Mega Man X series. I tried to play Mega Man X on stream at one point, and I just didn't like it. I don't know what it is about Mega Man X that I don't like it. I think it's really the replacement of sliding with wall jumping. This just doesn't feel Mega Man-ish to me. It's just not my favorite, so... Everyone hates my Tetris play. I know that. Yeah. I mean, you can stop, but it feels like, oh, I'm never at a stopping point, right? Like... So yeah, I don't know what other games I'm good at. I mean, I did pretty... Oh, Alex Kidd, I was just cheating constantly, I guess. Trying to figure out what else I play through and don't save state, and I don't really know. God damn it. So yeah, so in this fight, right, like, I would feel very, like, cheap if I just, like, save stated after every hit. And I would take like 20 minutes before I got into that. Like if it is like 10:55 and I am still fighting this boss and we're coming up to the CPG Rant, I could imagine myself switching to aggressive save stating as an approach. TMNT 2 I was pretty good at. I feel like the biggest problem I guess I have with TMNT 2 is that, like, I can make it to the final, like, I make it to the Technodrome, and then I just don't have enough lives to finish anything up, so I feel like I'm generally pretty good at it, but just not good enough. I guess playing it with a second player who knows a lot about the game would probably help, so I ended up playing with one other person. Dank memes, melt steel beams. I ended up playing it with one other person who, Alma Mighty, who just did not know the game that well, so I don't know if that would have been better with, like, 2 players who were good at it, which I did not have. Oh god. My Tetris is really weird. Yes. Well, I think the problem is that, like, when I play Tetris like everyone says I'm supposed to, I don't do well. God damn it. Fuck. Yeah, so I guess the trick here is that I need to stand on an edge when these are coming down. Well, you're supposed to get lots of Tetrises, right? So, like, everyone else plays and they're like, oh, look, I got a Tetris, not a Tetris, not a Tetris, not a Tetris. Don't do that. Supersonic Gamer Crack, I don't know what you're doing, but less emoji, man. Like, what's with the sad faces? I would look into the Resident Evil games. I feel like the Resident Evil games are survival horror games and are a pretty good price. I could be wrong. I don't know if they're available on Steam, maybe. I don't know if he needed a timeout. He's just a shit kid. Oh, god damn it! Ah. So yeah, I think my general feeling is like 15 minutes of doing the same thing over and over again at a level that is this repetitive is about the point where people start to be like, okay, can we play something different now? So I have played Resident Evil 2. I have like no nostalgic love for Resident Evil anything else. So I did play through 2, but I haven't played through anything else. Okay, gotcha. I guess 2 and 3 aren't there, there's only Resident Evil 1. Fuck. Anyway, yeah, so I am not a good Tetris player, is basically what it comes down to. I feel like, I don't know if my approach here is wrong or what. Alright, get out of here. Hey, and Wendigo killed the worm. Whoa, god. I mean, I think the Resident Evil games are definitely what's it called? Acquired taste. Oh, I can't jump it. God damn it. I don't care. I wonder if there's a trick to where the widest gap is. Like, is that going to be where he's gonna be? Ah. I mean, you can also, Nico, you can also steal PS1 and PS2 games. I mean, as much as I love supporting developers, if they're not selling shit, then I don't get too worried about, like, buying it on the platform that I can play, or stealing it on the platform I can play it on. Hey, Skilled Apple, how's it going? Alright, get out of here. Get out of here. But yeah, welcome Skilled Apple. Good to see you here in the chat, my friend. Happy to have you. How have your streams been doing? Hopefully well. Anyway, for folks who are streamers or are interested in, even as viewers, in the YouTube gaming platform, I think if you look in the description, there is a Google Doc link And what the title of the Google Doc is, Live Streaming Creators Wish List. So this is a wish list that I'm doing not as an employee, but rather as someone who uses the YouTube gaming platform and would like to see, you know, some things change about it. Ideally, people looking at things other than just like, oh, custom emojis, like those are the best. And trying to look at things that could be different from other platforms out there that are unique to what YouTube could offer, or that I'd really just like to see. Some of which are just parody, but some of which are kind of different. And so if you are interested, you can check out that doc in the description. You should be able to make suggestions and comments on it, and see, you know, if there's anything in there that you want. Yeah! You know, I used to kind of feel bad. I was like, oh man, I'm never growing or anything else like that. But I think the thing, the kind of solution, the solution, the realization I came to is that like 30 people, 20 to 30 people coming in for a retro stream is actually pretty good. If you look at Twitch, you know, in the retro game categories or the overall retro category or anything else like that, and look at people who aren't speedrunning. Excluding people who are speedrunning, there just is not actually that much attention played to retro games. And so like 30 viewers would put me in the top, you know, kind of 10 retro gaming streamers on the Twitch platform for people who aren't speedrunning. You know, because if you look at the like top games, you'll have, you know, Link to the Past, and you'll have Legend of Zelda, and you'll have all these other things, but they're all like randomized 107% speedrun, you know, any direction, blah blah blah. So there's all this competitive stuff. And on YouTube, you know, I'm not into that. I've never been into that. You know, I said at the very beginning when I created this channel that it was never going to be about speedrunning. I was never going to be the best player out there. It's one of the reasons why people are always so shocked when I'm saying, like, yeah, I just save state and use my emulator. Because it's different from the rest of the kind of retro streaming world that's out there. And I've been so, like, that realization when it finally came to me, I was like, oh, okay. Like, there's a supply and demand issue. The thing that I like to supply, there's not a ton of demand for. I've built this great community of people who are here. You know, we've got Patreon going with, you know, 15 different people who have participated in that, which has allowed me to do things like give away VidCon creator passes and all this other stuff. I'm looking at whether I'm going to be maybe buying a couple mics for people in the next iteration of giveaways and stuff like that. So. Supersonic Gaming Man, if you want to suggest a game, there's a link in the description below. It says game suggestion form. You can put stuff in there. But yeah. Yeah, I just don't know if there's supposed to be a system to where he is. That was what I never really figured out. So, all right, we got the staff coming in. We got the credits rolling. So as far as why not more retro streamers on YouTube, I think that really there's probably like twice as many people streaming on Twitch as there are on YouTube. I think that the overall, the retro category is a little bit better. And really, like with everything, right? You're gonna have more people streaming on Twitch because they're the 900-pound gorilla. There's more people streaming all the things on Twitch. And so we've got like a relatively, like Wendeco has been doing retro stuff, playing FF8. Like there's almost always someone playing a Final Fantasy, a Mega Man, a Super Mario Brothers. You know, it's pretty rare. So I've started actually doing collections. So in my gaming, you know, games collection on YouTube, I've actually got, you know, a whole bunch of the games that I've played. And if you actually look at this, right, you'll see that there's oftentimes like people playing older games. So if we flip over here real quick, you'll see that, you know, Crash Bandicoot has someone live, Donkey Kong Country has someone live, Final Fantasy VII, Donkey Kong Country 2, Shovel Knight doesn't really count, Super Mario 64, Super Mario Brothers 1, you know, Ocarina of Time, Link to the Past, Tetris. So all these games, like, of Super Mario, 4 people playing Super Mario World. So all these games are really, like, you know, there's a bunch of things out there, but they're kind of harder to find. You kind of have to go through and break it out and look at it individually. So you don't get some kind of more, like, this community. But I think a big part of that is just that the, like, Twitch's community of viewers and streamers all is kind of overwhelmed by these high viewership speedrunning streams. So this impression that Twitch gives of being really this big, you know, retro gaming platform, when in reality it's not. It's like a dozen to 24 people who are speedrunning, but all other than the competitive stuff, there's just not that stuff there. So yeah. Am I doing Sonic 2? I am absolutely doing Sonic 2. I was trying to figure out if I was going to do the CPG rant now and then do Sonic 2. I know we're like 5 minutes early, so I'm trying to decide, like, you know, if we should just go straight into the CPG rant, or if we should pull up Sonic 2. So I think, yeah, well, so this is actually what this is this is made from, is just made from games that I played. Like, at one point I just went through, and with like 1 or 2 exceptions, this was just games I had played. So I've played Blaster Master, Braid, Bubble Bobble. Like, in this top row, I've played every one of those on stream. Every one of these except for Final Fantasy VII and Grand Theft Auto San Andreas on stream. I have not played Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes on stream, although I still want to. I have that game just so I can play it with someone on stream. I haven't played Papers, Please on stream, but I've played all the rest of those. I haven't played... Nope, played all those. Have not played Ocarina of Time on stream, although maybe Mrs. CPG did. Have not played Wind Waker on stream, have not played Twilight Princess on stream. But other than that, so yeah. So when this looks like it's really full, the reason it looks like it's really full is this is all games that I have played on stream, and it's not even all of them. Like, this isn't even everything that I've played. This is just like a subset of it. Take care, Wendigo. Have a good night. And so, you have dibs on Papers, Please? Yeah, no coin flip here. I can't get into the coin flip stuff. It's just not a thing for me. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we are going to run the CPG rant of the evening just a little bit early, and get that started, and we'll run through that, and then we will go into Sonic the Hedgehog 2. So yeah, so the CPG rant of the evening, for those of you who do not know, is the portion of the evening where I tell you a little bit about something that I am very passionate about. So this is very much a rant. Brad is going to be disappointed he's not here. For those of you who don't know, CPG rants, all the mini-VODs I record and everything else like that are available typically early to Patreon members. So I don't always get a chance to publish all of my CPG rants, but when I don't, they're still on my channel as unlisted videos. So, but yeah, so tonight's CPG rant is just a little bit about how you're all fucking biased and you should do something about it. Your bullshit biases color everything that you do unless you take careful care to avoid them at every step of the way. And you're not. I'm the Chris who plays games. This is your CPG rant of the evening. Every time I turn around, I'm amazed by the bias that people continue to perpetrate without realizing it, thinking that they are avoiding bias, but not being able to do so. It is amazing to me how many people are unable to look and realize, with data or evidence or anything else like that, how much bias they have. Bias is a very difficult thing to get rid of. Do not get me wrong. I am biased in almost everything that I do. The difference is that I do my best, and I'm not perfect, far from it, to be conscious of my biases and fight against them. Or at least, when I'm interacting in a situation, to acknowledge them. I have biases left, right, and center. I have biases in favor of my employer. I have biases about, social issues like race and everything else like that. I have biases in all kinds of directions, but I do my best to, because I know I have those biases, to turn around and use things other than my personal opinions to back my information, approach, statements, reasoning, rational perspective up. Whether it is the way that I am selecting someone to enter into a VidCon competition to receive a sponsorship pass, whether it is, something more important like how I treat other people, whether it is, no matter what it is, I do my best to either minimize or at least acknowledge my biases. When I was doing a VidCon sponsorship giveaway, one of the things that I did was I had 74 different people apply, and so a bunch of my early steps were just filtering people out. It was literally just trying my best to throw away some of the applications before I even got started. And the way that I did that was by taking heuristics. If you didn't have a channel trailer, you're gone. If the only goal that you had was to reach a certain number of subscribers, you're gone. If you use, primarily all caps in your titles, you're gone. Does that mean that all of those people were necessarily creating bad content? No. But just practically speaking, I realized that there was no way that I was going to be able to watch enough video content from 74 different creators and feel confident in my choices being rational or anything else like that. I wanted to instead get past that, to get past some of these easy things and get it into a pool where I could look through them and get a feel for their content. And as I did that, I ended up coming up with 8 different people who I thought were deserving of a VidCon sponsorship. I did. I mean, of the 74 that I came out of, I threw away half of them, filtered out another quarter, and ended up with, a quarter that were, towards the best, and 8 that if I had passes, I would have given away to people. And when I got to the end and I started counting those as I got to kind of my final rounds, I started looking and saying, okay, like, have I been biased in what I've done? What is the gender breakdown? What is the, racial breakdown? What are these other things relative to the applicant pool that I got? Because I know that my applicant pool is going to be biased because I only have so much of a network, even though the VidCon, team retweeted my offer and everything else like that this was something that I was going to be, somewhat limited on. But I just tried to see, what did I do here and pay attention to that to make sure that it wasn't just all white guys, or, white, straight, cis, normative, whatever, whatever things that you want to put in buckets. And I think I did pretty well. I was pretty, happy with how I came out of that. I felt like I had selected applicants via this kind of selection process that were somewhat representative of both people in the world, and not just people exactly like me, and people in my applicant pool, which is great. I thought that was a really, cool thing. But every time I turn around, I'm amazed at how many people are not able to see how biased they are. When you do things based on who your friends are, or who you know, or anything else like that, you run into trouble. Every time I try to make a list of something, I realize that I am so screwed. I tried to make a representative sample, and I am so frustrated at people who think that they're able to do so. My coworkers have been doing this for so long. This is one of the biggest things that we had to fight against when I worked at Nokia, was to try and tell people that the things that you do are not representative of what our users do. And yes, there are absolutely a desire for aspirational use cases. There is absolutely reason to try to take whatever your users are going to be doing next. But when the data shows again and again and again and again and again that users don't do the thing that you think they do, do not continue to build a system which is only good at the thing you wish they did. Because yes, in the process you may actually get to a point where users are doing that feature more, are using that feature more, but in the process you'll lose the 80% of your user base that you abandoned because you spent all of your time improving category search on a map-based program rather than just being able to look up a goddamn address so you can route there. And when I show you the data that says even on the very first day that we ship a new app that has never been seen before, the search queries look approximately the same and they have a breakdown which is dominated by address queries, please don't come to me again and again and say, I know better than you, because I have the data. And you can attack my methodology and you can attack my, sense of whatever, but please don't pretend that you're not being biased by your personal experiences. Now, this bias is one of the things that makes me most upset about programs that are selecting for some, some feature that is selected for by people who are selecting into that. I am always frustrated by, exclusive clubs. Because the exclusive clubs almost always are going to be exclusive in a way that they are matching the biases of the person who is selecting for entry into that. And so I try to minimize that. I try to minimize that by pointing at data. I try to minimize that by looking around. One of the things that I did early on when YouTube Gaming launched was to identify when there's very few people streaming, back when the largest number of viewers that you would see was 200, and it was a special day when that happened. One of the things that I wanted to do was to say, well, we've got this list of featured creators, but most of them don't live stream because nobody live streams on YouTube. Let's try and pull some more into that, so that, you know, this was in the old days of the YouTube gaming sidebar, and said, you know, well, let's look at what the data can tell us. Let's look at creators who have more than 10% of their watch time in the YouTube gaming app who are trying to push this forward. Let's look at creators who are pulling in more than, 50 concurrents. Let's look at creators who are streaming regularly. And let's not pick it based on who has a relationship with who. Let's not pick it based on, which partner manager you can get to or anything else like that. And I think had positive reactions from the gaming team. That this was something that people said, that's cool. Like, we're actually using data to make these decisions, and that's a good thing. It hasn't always worked out that well, and that's a shame. I wish that I had an easier time talking to all of my, coworkers about these things. I wish that I had an easier time, and luckily I work in video infrastructure. And in video infrastructure, our problem is so large that for the most part, people can't grasp it. Our problem is so large that there's no way for people to have, intuition about the things that people would like to be doing. You have to work from the data. Because when you're talking about 1 billion hours of watch time a day, you have to be doing that. But it is still frustrating, and it is still the case that I run into problems sometimes where I just feel like I'm trying to tell you something and you will not listen to reason because your personal biases are in the way. So my advice to you, no matter what you're doing, is to acknowledge your personal biases and to do your best to minimize against them. To do your best to find ways to eliminate your biases wherever you can. To use data and rational thought and evidence to make decisions, rather than doing it by the seat of your pants. Because the more you do that, the better a chance you have of being successful in creating something that's not just good for the people that you want to select based on your viewpoint, but instead for everybody. I'm the Chris who plays games. That's been your CPG rant of the evening. And we're back. So I don't know why my audio is so screwed up. It seems like it's screwed up in the game, it's screwed up in VLC captures, it's screwed up everywhere. It's just a terrible, terrible thing. I don't know what to tell you. That's just the way it is. I did not mail the book, Blake. I know, I'm a terrible person. I said I was going to come hell or high water. Unfortunately, I had to help my daughter move out of college this weekend, which was a little bit unexpected for me. And also, I don't know if you guys noticed, but on Friday I played Factorio, and Factorio is a time vampire, which I knew it would be, but I kind of failed to realize how much it would be, so I put about 20 hours into Factorio, and then helped my daughter move out of school, so, yeah. Yeah, so I will, though. I still will. It will get done. Okay, so we're gonna turn the sound back on, even though it's gonna be 2 seconds off again. I don't get it. I don't understand, like, what. Maybe I'll try this. Hold on. I'm gonna try this and see if this does anything good. Yes, I'd like to remove that, and we'll see if this works. Okay. So that happened, and I hit this, and I'm gonna push. Nope. Quiet you. Oh, I need to like put this in the big thing. Okay. So I'm gonna watch this over here and hear that. Alright. Oh, I need to like put this in the big thing. Okay. No, it's like, so I'm gonna watch this over here 5 seconds off. That. Like, what is up with this? I do not understand what your major malfunction is. I have restarted you. I have done everything that I can think of to do. There is no button in this that is like, delay my sound for 7 seconds. Like, what is up with you, you stupid piece of software? Juegos son tuyo también. Well, bienvenidos. Estamos jugando Sonic 2 as well. Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Sorry, I've changed my game title here. Sonic the Hedgehog 2, Sega Genesis. What year was that? That was 1992. All right. Trollio. Yes, Factorio is relatively old. Okay, so we're gonna have sound and it's gonna be way off, and at least we've got like the levels and whatever, and that's all there is to it. Someday it will get done. Yeah, so it's about 5 years old, but you wouldn't really know it. I think it's a very it's a game that I think if it was released today would feel very I think similar. I don't think there's anything about it that kind of feels dated. I also know it's been kind of like gotten like constant updates, so they're currently like shipping version 15.5 like this week. Excuse me, man, I'm like. So I got this cool like pink strawberry lemonade, and it's giving me the burps. So pile. Okay, I don't want to do that right now because I need 10 more rings. So I can get an extra stage. I gotta make the same mistakes again. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. There we go. Good. I mean, in this case, it is clearly something about my computer. I don't know how. I haven't done anything different. Like, I'm literally using the exact same OBS config that I do every time. It's not like there's that much difference to it. And when I recorded earlier, it recorded fine. Like, I could check the recording now, but my guess is it would also be fine. Like, something is just broken in how it's streaming. Thank you very much, Kazoo, for the sub. For those of you who don't know, I am the Chris who plays games, playing retro games every Monday at 9:15 and whatever I feel like every Friday at 9:15. Tonight we're playing some Sonic games. We just finished Sonic 1, we're now heading into Sonic 2. The expectation and hope is that I will make it through Sonic 2 tonight. We'll see if we make it. We'll see how it goes, but that's the plan. Hey yo, yes, it's you. I didn't get an extra continue for that? Feels like I had a bunch of... I don't understand this game. Oh, Tails got hit. Sorry, Tails. Oh. I guess I could have gone for another thing there. Live stream alerts is still working, yeah. I don't do a lot with it, so it's probably broken sometimes, but it works for me. Soybomb donated via Streamlabs earlier, and I just got a sub, and both worked. Tails is not worthless. I have had more bosses killed by Tails than I care to admit. Alright, there we go. Oh, is that the gamesman's way of saying that I got a donation or something that I didn't respond to? I feel like that's what that's saying. So probably like, I don't know, something. Oh, okay. I know my Patreon alerts are not working anymore, which I need to fix. And Extra Life alerts don't work anymore either because they changed, like, so Extra Life, they changed their cert to point to an SSL cert for a name that their API isn't hosted at. Like, I assume that it might be like they've changed their API, but they just changed, like, rather than keeping the old thing working, they just broke it. And so, like, anything that calls the old endpoint just fails, which is, like, shitty. Makes me sad. Yeah, I mean, you just have to be careful. Like, when there are platforms that fall on contact, you have to be cautious. And sometimes Tails is gonna do something stupid and fuck you up. Like, it's a thing. No! Happens, but so does me failing, so. Something Tails and Sonic, can see Akia, Ribia, con Sonic and Tails. Okay, I think, I don't know. Feels like not, the Spanish that I can read. So either it's not Spanish, or it's just not Spanish I can read. Stop hitting spikes. I just need to stop dying. Oh no, it was totally my fault. I'm just not paying any attention. Tails' power is sexy. Cuidado. Cuidado! See, Cuidado could just be the name of this stream. Like, Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Cuidado. Cuidado, of course, means be careful, or caution, as far as I know. How I interpret it, anyway. Alright, I can make this a little bit louder, I think. Yo, hiciste Marada. I don't know that. I'm wondering if this is Portuguese and not Spanish, or if I'm just really bad, way worse at Spanish. Like, usually I feel like I get more of it. Hello, Juana Hernandez. This music is great. Like, this whole level, so this level I actually have a strong association. So I played Sonic 2 when I was growing up in my basement, and we had a stereo, and so I would constantly be listening to like B96, which was like pop music of some kind. I don't remember what it was, but to me this whole level is associated with like the Out Here Brothers. Spanish with a lot of typos. Okay, that's fine. And it's Spanish that I'm just not good at. Like, usually I feel like I get more out of the Spanish when people show up. So I'm just bad at this. It's fine. I'm giving myself too much credit. I have never played Botnik's Mean Bean Machine. El segundo voz no será fácil. The second something is not easy. Act 2 of Chetpoi. I'm like, I mean, part of this is that, like, I guess my video game vocabulary has never been great, probably, so. I guess one thing I'll say is that this game is a little bit more lax with the extra lives. ¿Dónde está la biblioteca? See, I can do that. That's where is the pants. Oh wait, no, that's a different thing. ¿Dónde están mis pantalones? Está en la biblioteca. ¿Por qué está en la biblioteca? Porque yo está diciendo, está cocina, comida en la biblioteca y necesito sacar mis pantalones. Where are my pants? They're in the library. Why are they in the library? Because I was cooking food and I needed to take them off. Juana Hernandez, welcome, welcome. Tengo un grande gato en mis pantalones. Yeah, if I have 50 rings, I get to go into special stages. That is true. I did that once earlier. I don't care that much about them, but I do care a little bit. So here we go. Here's another one. Special stage. Yo tengo un burrito. I have never played Mr. Pants. Is that a game? I'm playing on an emulator, specifically K-Fusion, or Fusion? I don't know, it's got a K in it. Fusion 3.64, Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Alright, this is not gonna work well. I don't think. Oh, I got it. Maybe. There we go. Got a little bit more than I needed. Oops. That was my fault. I was not looking at the stream, or I was looking at the chat and not at the stream. Oh god. Avoid the bombs. All's well. Down slowly across the middle. So these were This is like, you know, the Sega equivalent of Mode 7, right? Alright, see, Tails got me those 3 rings. Without Tails, I would not have completed that stage. So you're all sitting here saying that Tails is completely useless, but I disagree. Also, he is sticking to my butt, like, much closer than I feel like he often does. The other problem, of course, though, is that if Tails runs into a bomb, I will lose his rings, so I have to be very careful to not lose Tails. Boom shakalak! Boom shakalaka! Booty 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 booty. Booty 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 booty. Booty 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 booty. Booty 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 rocking everywhere. I don't know. Alright, where are we going? This phase is difficult, but I can't pass it. I think? I don't know. I passed that one. I mean, the reality is that Tails getting hit by the bomb should only cause a problem for you if you didn't do well enough on the stage in the first place. I think there's a thing here. Okay. That was good. Alpha Ogre killed with Juana Hernandez. Is that Johanna? Johanna? I don't know. Something like that. Hernandez. Mr. and or Mrs. Hernandez. I don't know if that's even a male or a female name. Can I play on RetroArch? I don't. I mean, I assume you could. I don't have, like, RetroArch installed. I don't remember what RetroArch is exactly. I think it's it's a multi-emulator system, right? So I play on, what's it called? OpenEMU. I think OpenEMU is effectively a RetroArch front end. And so that's what I play on when I'm playing on Mac. And this game, like, would work fine. I also know that some people set up, like, RetroPies and other things like that. So RetroArch just uses the cores from most of these emulators. They take the core components out and then wrap them in a generally useful thing, so. Poor Tails. Mikey L, I mean, that's the best thing to do, really. You can't see my chin. Oh man, that's because I need to sit back. That's what I really, that's probably because I'm, like, also shouting in your ears, so. Shoot your goddamn arrow. God damn. I think that says I am better than you, or you are better than me. So, I think that's cool. Someone's telling me I'm better than them in Spanish, and I even understood it a little. Take care, Stingray, thanks a lot! But yeah, so this is one of the things that I wanted to do is that, like, I mean, recently I've been playing Alex Kidd, and I've been playing Factorio, and I've been playing all these things, and it's not that they're bad, but they're just really hard for me to concentrate on the thing that's important to me, me. And so to have the chance to kind of share with you something that's a little bit more about me is nice. I like things that are about me. I realize that this is making me sound like the utter douche nozzle that I am, but since I am an utter douche nozzle, I'm accepting. I will accept this. Alright. Oh, god damn it. I did not see you, jerk. You like the shouting? Kept falling in the water pits in Act 2. Well, we'll see how I do. I don't know yet. I think I had a lot of trouble. Oh, this is the one that I'm pretty sure, like, made a VOD of the final boss because the final boss ended up being so glitchy. Like, I had, like, 5 different attempts where I glitched through the floor by doing something like a spin dash on the right hand or left side. Sonic Classic Heroes on it. We can play multi. I mean, I'm just trying to play, like, my thing. I know that I was mostly joking earlier, but I do actually have a lot of issues around my personally being the center of attention. I'm super narcissistic, and one of the things that I do on these streams is engage in that narcissism. So that's something that I have to figure out ways to ensure And I really owe so many people in the Boston area an opportunity to play with me, so. Use the spin dash more times. I think that's what that says. Which is not bad advice. Oh, god damn it. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. There we go. So yeah, overall I would say that so far I've been pretty good at this game. I think if I drop all the way down, no. There we go. So earlier people were asking like, what games are you good at? And I would say that so far I'm pretty pleased with how I'm doing here. Right up until then. Whee! But yeah, Mark, I can totally see the resemblance there to telephone rings. The bop, 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 bop. I mean, I'm a damn fine everything, really. Sorry, I'm squishing myself again. Here we go. There we go. I'm a damn fine everything. I'm not just a damn fine Sonic player. I'm also a damn fine dancer. I got some hat spin to go with my spin dash. Really, I got it all, we got it all up in here. Da, 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 da. But yeah, so Factorio was super fun. I of course got obsessed with it over the weekend and continued playing it. So I did actually, in the last Factorio, or when we finished, I was working through like the second or third scenario. And what happened there is that I had to collect all these items, and you were supposed to like have them in your combination of your inventory and your car. And so I was like, okay, as I finish things, I'm going to put them in my car, so I won't like lose them or forget about them or whatever else like that. So I put all these items in my inventory of my car, and I'm like going back and forth, like I'm running the trains, I'm doing all this stuff, and I had kind of failed in a bunch of the automation steps, but it was like good enough that I could sort of get away with it, and I was just gonna run with it. And then like biters, the like alien enemies, came in and attacked my car and took like the 50% of materials that I had and destroyed them. And so I was like, oh my good goddamn. And so like I eventually gave up. It was like 6 hours in, and I gave up on that. And I was like, fuck it, I'll do it over. And automated way more, like did a whole bunch more automation pieces, and really did, I think, the first kind of real attempt at automation I was going to do. And I ended up completing the entire scenario, which I was only like 75% done with in 4 hours. So it was definitely good that I didn't like continue on the path that I was on and started from scratch, because I clearly needed it. But it was clear that I was also like learning in the process, right? So I think Mighty was the one who said, you will learn that you need to automate more. And Sunless, who was another developer at YouTube, commented like, you just have to learn this from experience. And on the first level, I think I got away with it, but on that last level I was doing when we finished off the stream, I finally came to the realization that I needed to automate more and bought into it, and took action. So then I continued on and did a couple more of the automation stages, and was able to successfully like set up oil processing and everything else like that. Hello to the nines! Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of emeralds, or of like completionism in general. So I'm pretty much just like, I take whatever I get. If I get a lot of emeralds, I get a lot of emeralds. If I don't, then I don't. I don't change my behavior because of it. This is like, I don't really care about the special endings. And certainly it is the case that Supersonic can make things easier, but in the final levels, it's not going to matter. And I feel pretty confident in this game that I'm happy with how I'm going to do. So. That is correct. I only do any percent. That's exactly right. I always cheat and I only do any percent. Solamente hace any percent. I don't know how to say any. Cada percentido. No! There we go. I'm sorry that you're so lonely, Chris G. I mean, you got all of us here. With this crowd, how can you be lonely? Also, with a name like Chris, how can you be lonely? Really? It's really the best name out there. So, you know, you got that going for you. You got this whole crowd of awesome people. You got some Sonic and Knuckles or Sonic and Tails going on for you here. It's like a party in your mouth, and everyone's invited. All right, dodge any oncoming bombs. I do not have a very large vocabulary. My vocabulary is probably at least 12 words, but not much more. Oh god. I feel like this ring countdown started very early. Whoa! Yeah, it did. It did. Alright. Well, hello, cat. Please don't stand on my keyboard. Okay, sorry. I'm just a little bit confused as to why I don't have like continues out of that. I was supposed to get continues, but I guess not. Teletransportación. That is an awesome Spanish word. I mean, I assume it's just teleportation, but the tras in there is very helpful. You can't see your dad right now. I'm sorry, Chris. That sucks. I can't see my dad right now because he's across the country, but that's probably for the best in some ways. Ribbit. Ribbit, ribbit. Yeah, go ahead, give me some rings, Tails. No, you failed to get me rings, Tails. I am disappointed. I'm gonna go down this way. My name is Chris, that is true. I am the Chris who plays games, playing retro games every Monday and not Friday at 9:15 p.m. Eastern Time, whatever the fuck I feel like every Fridays. I just like totally screwed that up. I am the Chris who plays games, playing retro games every Monday at 9:15 p.m. Eastern Time, whatever I feel like every Friday at 9:15 p.m. Eastern Time. Thank you all for being here and enjoying this retro Sonic gameplay. Do 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 do. Yay! Well, thank you very much, Oni. Sorry you don't get a patrons right now don't get a thingy, unfortunately, because Patreon alerts are not working on live stream alerts, which is something I still need to work on. Their API broke somehow, and I haven't figured out how. But thank you very much. Oh, come on. Well, now you know. I did not know that, Zeo Kim. Yeah, the Casino Night boss isn't that bad. So I do retro and indie games mostly. I kind of go back and forth. Sometimes I am like all retro, but I've kind of retroed myself out recently. So it's always retro on Monday, because at one point I did Binding of Isaac on Monday, and a bunch of people like whined at me that it was not retro because I had previously only done retro. So I made it my rule that I would always do retro on Mondays, and then Fridays would be whatever I wanted. So like last Friday was Factorio. I also have done... Man, my work on this boss is not going well. Chris G, if your subscriptions are public, then it might pop up and show your name on screen. So you can make your subscription public by going to youtube.com/account_privacy, account_privacy, if you'd like. Alternatively, you can just be like, I subscribed, and I'll be like, yo, that's cool. I appreciate subscribers. Seems like the Sonic is pulling in the subs like nobody's business for me, so clearly what I need to do is just play Sonic 24/7. And this is one of the other things, is that, you know, we were talking earlier about like retro games, and one of the other things is that it's really hard to grow a dedicated audience when you are playing different things all the time. So I love playing different games. I don't want to play the same game every night, and yeah. So I like being able to change it up. Yeah, so Chris G, it already popped up a thing for you. But yeah, so thank you very much, Oni, for being our newest Patreon supporter. I am a user of Patreon primarily to help fund other creators. So I'm trying to take advantage of the awesome community that we have here, get a little bit of feedback on behind the scenes, you know, what's coming up, what's going next, etc., etc., and give that to people behind the scenes, but also to give back to the community. So I've got a post up on my Patreon right now for Patreon people to vote on how I spend my money, whether I should just give it all to one person in a big donation during a stream, whether I should you know, make it something where I'm giving a hardware item to somebody, whether it should be a, you know, grant program where people apply or anything else like that. So I would probably not try Nier Automata. I've seen it a bunch of times, but it has not really struck my fancy. I don't even remember exactly what it's like a third-person game of some kind, right? I don't remember exactly what it is, but I've seen it and just been kind of like, yeah, this is fun to watch, but not to play, probably, for me. That's right. Oh, that's right. I also don't generally do long games, so Factorio is obviously an exception, but it has stopping points and everything else like that. So I try to get games that I can get, like, 1 or 2 streams is kind of my ideal. Where I can get through a game in 1 or 2 streams. Sometimes I'll go for a third, or sometimes I'll play a game just like to play it through whatever I get out of it and continue from there, so. Comentario en español activado. Comment in Spanish activated. I am probably not going to speedrun Suikoden in 3 with you. Yeah, I know, Down Phoenix. There's nothing I can do at this point. I've restarted OBS, I've restarted all of my software, and it's not just... It's gotta be OBS at this point, or OBS or my general, like, desktop audio drivers or something, which doesn't make any sense to me. But I can't figure out what it is, and I'd rather play the game. Ah, alright. I have played Shovel Knight, yeah, so Shovel Knight I got for Christmas in 2015, and so I played that in January of 2016. That's one of the games that caused me to do only the retro on Monday nights rule, was Shovel Knight and Binding of Isaac. So those were the ones that I played, but... Bueno, ya me voy, salúdame antes de irme como hace rato. Please say hi to me. I've not played Plague of Shadows. I couldn't actually, I know this is gonna sound stupid. I opened up Shovel Knight thinking like, hey, I should play Plague of Shadows. Like, I haven't done it yet, because I watched you play Oni. And I was like, alright, I should do this. And I couldn't find where Plague of Shadows was. Do a dab. Alright, there we go. I did a dab, and I died because of it, so hopefully we're all good now. I didn't actually die, but... I mean, running on lava is basically the best. fuck. Look, and I'm searching for somebody, something. Ciao. I mean, dabbing is like sneezing into your arm, right? Like, that's what I read on this thing on the internet that told me how to dab. It's like, you know, you sneeze. It's like how you're supposed to sneeze into your elbow. Alright, so if I can find a continue post, I'm all set. So I did not used to, but one of my coworkers is very aggressive about this particular thing, that you should always sneeze into your, you know, armpit or into your elbow instead of otherwise. And so he has taught me the wrongs of my ways, and as a result I always do it now. Sonic 3, I will probably be playing Sonic 3, but in reality, I'm probably not going to get to Sonic 3 tonight, so we'll have to see how it goes. But my guess is that I am going to fail hard enough at Sonic 2 that I won't get there. Just based on historical experience here. I'm not a very good player of games. I realize that this may not be clear given that I'm sitting here streaming, but just the way it is, some things will never change. Tails got no rings for me there? I don't know, Tails. He's just, look, he's like stuck very close to me. I feel like when I played this game on, you know, whatever, that he was not nearly as close to me. Alright. See, that's more the Tails I was expecting. Oh, God. Oh, crap. Crap, now Tails is in front of me. We're in trouble. Yes! So, I think that, like, the whole cannabis-related, Oh, so if you like if you're interested in Binding of Isaac, actually, Brad Pritchard, who's in the chat, is a streamer who plays Binding of Isaac pretty much every day except for Thursdays at about like 6 a.m. Eastern time. And so he's the one I watch every day and got me into Binding of Isaac in the first place. He's also been playing Suikoden, which is a older PS2 RPG. And so he's a cool guy to hang out with. He's based in China, so his streaming has a little bit of problems, and his computer currently has a heat issue that prevents it from completing most of the games he plays. But he'll typically play Binding of Isaac, he'll play some Suikoden, he'll play some Super Mega Baseball or Golf Club, and so he's a good guy to know. They are super, super good. Hello, Sonic Imas, bienvenidos, and welcome back. This is my morning Maori. Oh god, why? Why, bug? Yeah, so I think that at this point I am unlikely to get any more Chaos Emeralds, so we're gonna end up the game with 6 rather than the or with 4 rather than the 6 or whatever we need. Because I never can stay like not getting hit in this level long enough to actually get more emeralds, and everything else from here just gets longer and harder. Do, 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 do. I like that as I was describing the fact that I am not going to get into any more special stages, I unlocked another special stage. That was pretty classic. Of course, for those of you who do not have brothers who would attempt to destroy your game, the second player controller could control Tails, so they don't get to lead the game, obviously, but because they can't lead the game, they would just cause whatever shit they could for you. So at some point, you could actually get a lot more out of this, right? You could have Tails go one way and Sonic go another way. This is a good thing, but in reality, of course, that never worked. Oh, so I've never done... I smoked pot once, and it went really poorly for me, I think because I was also drinking. So I would not make that mistake. I was actually kind of looking forward to pot being legal in our state. So it is technically legal in our state at this point. But you can't buy it anywhere yet. So I was looking forward to that because I'm not really interested. Like, I'm interested in I want like brownies or something, right? Like I just want like totally legit like pot lollipops or whatever. And now you can only get that with medical license, which I'm not down with, because I have nothing that would really require cannabis as a medical treatment. And now, unfortunately, with like Sessions being the douche that he is, and our state dragging its feet on implementing like a program to tax and whatever, I just feel like I'm never gonna be able to smoke legal pot for like another 8 years. It's kind of disappointing, you know. I was looking forward to a Clinton presidency, so I could hope for a decent attorney general and a continued relaxation of cannabis. So. God damn it! The same number of bad rings, same bad number of rings. Yeah, so I've got 4 emeralds, but I think that's gonna be it. I seem to have a lot of trouble finishing this special stage. I suppose I could just cheat my way through those, right? Like, this is one of those things that save states are good for. Well, it's the exact same number of rings I was short the last time I did the exact same level. Like, alright, clearly I've got a problem here. 48 rings is, I think it's 53. 53 rings should be enough for everybody. Oh yeah, so dabbing in actuality is a dance move that was invented like in the Atlanta dance scene in the mid-90s. It's actually when you kind of do like this and like point your other arm up. That's like a dab. But it was always described to me whenever I read about it as like, you know, just pretend that you are, pretend that you're sneezing and you need to put your, sneeze into your arm, your elbow. So. Oh, and then dabbing, of course, is like some kind of weird pot smoking thing, which I don't understand. I mean, we all know that Lalo, you are hopelessly behind the times. Like, don't let's pretend that, just because you do something that it is a reasonable thing for other people to do. God damn it. I want it to be up there. That ring box. And here I am. Here we sit like birds in the wilderness. Birds in the wilderness. Words in the wilderness. No, I don't think it has a... I have no idea. I have no idea whether it has anything to do with it, but as far as I can tell, no. But of course, like, in a traditional, like, YouTube video about this, they wouldn't want to be like, hey, this is a totally drug-related thing as well, so... Not exactly like I would know. Lalo, bringing the dab back. But yeah, so 10-minute break, aka Lalo's friend of ours. There's always lovely people here tonight. And I love having you here, and I hope you love being here. Like I said earlier, fuck. I'm gonna die. I didn't actually say that earlier, but I am gonna die. Adios, Fernando. Gracias. Hanging out here. Thanks, Sonic. Me too. Yep, I was stuck. That is 100% true. First I thought you were saying you suck, and I was like, no, I'm not that bad, but stuck is a better word there, because it was absolutely 100% true. Alright. Let's do that. Now this. Now that. See, that was what I wanted. Give me some of that ring box. Take the high road. Avoid the place where I got stuck last time. But yeah, so I would love to be in a state and environment where marijuana was actually legal, as opposed to just like not heavily enforced. I'm really worried about Secretary of about AG Sessions deciding that this is really his ballywick and he's really gonna get in it on it. All right. See, I'm pretty sure that, like, this is a side effect of emulation that I'm unable to do this. Because it should be that I'm able to, like, wiggle and get Tails not to be directly on my back. And if you do that, then he can pick up more rings. And without that, I'm just having a really hard time, like, getting that. So he's just sitting so close to me, and I think that that's emulation related, so... I mean, not that I'm excusing my poor play, because it is clearly poor, but... So yeah, that's one of the things that if you have another person playing, the second player can kind of take control of Tails there and kind of go in opposite directions, especially in those circular ones, and just pick up a ton of rings that way. Evo Go Games. Here's the problem, right? So you just started, you're new here, you don't know. But the thing about shoutouts is that they're not very effective when all of my audience is here to see me. So what you've just done is made about 25 enemies for life, because most of these people came here to see me, and now they know that you're just kind of a jerk who doesn't respect that. So to not respect that like that, now you've got a whole bunch of people who are kind of not on your side, probably not going to check out your channel, and are going to kind of mentally blacklist you. The other thing, though, is that really, in order to do something good, the thing you want to do is not ask for shoutouts. What you want to do is just make good content. So, you know, I have another channel that I have. It's only got like 4 videos on it, but those videos are content that is unique and not accessible in other places. So I made a channel that's about tutorials for livestreamalerts.com, which is a website I wrote. And as a result of this content being unique, I've actually got, you know, I think 370 subs now, despite the fact that I've only made 4 videos ever. Whereas on this channel, I've had to work my ass off because I, like, am making gaming videos and everyone and their brother is making gaming videos. So there's a lot of competition out there. The supply is high, the demand is low, relatively speaking. And it's really just not a good match. So the thing to do is to look into how to be in a niche that is going to allow you to do better. Okay, this is the last chance. No, it's alright. Like, just in general, you want to, you want to be kind of respectful of communities. Like, I mean, when people are here, right, they're going to want to watch my shit, not your shit, right? Like, I mean, you can see how that kind of makes sense, at least, I hope. You know, like, if they wanted to watch your shit, they'd be out searching for something else to watch, not sitting here. So in this live context, I think that's there. And then the other thing is, like, when you're in comments, you know, these comment conversations end up being, you know, back and forth between community members. And so for you to come in there and be like, hey, pay attention to me, is just kind of rude. You're kind of, you know, playing on someone else's attention. Make good content and clickbait. Lalo is a king of the clickbait. I'm a little bit more iffy on the clickbait. I am disappointed that I lose my bubble. I don't feel like I should lose my bubble going into one of those things. Ooh, almost got hit there. Tails, get on it. There you go. One more hit on him at least. Anyway, Brad, I think I've proven that I cannot complete that special stage. So, it does not matter how many save states I have. It's just not going to be enough. I have never played Shadow the Hedgehog or heard of it. So LJ, okay, so here's the things, right? When starting streaming, so one, you probably just want to actually go through and watch all of the CPG rants. I mean, I hate to be, so here's the thing, I can be a little bit self-promoting because it's my stream. But yeah, so all of the CPG rants are actually a lot of the kind of tips and feelings and other things like that I have on you know, content creation. But so some of the things I would say is, pick a schedule and stick to it. With live especially, where there's this limited time arena for people to see your content, you want to have a lot of consistency, the same way that you would on TV. You know, a must-see TV is on Thursday night or whatever, then people expect it to be there. And I think that's a really important thing that people kind of undercount. Another thing is, you know, you're gonna have to bring a couple of viewers yourself. Right? So you're gonna have to bring family and friends, you're gonna have to bring, you know, brothers and sisters, you're gonna have to bring the first couple people yourself, because when you have 0 viewers, it is just really actually very hard to be socially engaging all the time. And also, it's like, you're not gonna be seen on anything until YouTube is, or you're not gonna show up on any lists until you're not at the very bottom, right? So there's always like 100 people streaming with 0 people watching. Alright, I'm not even gonna try for that because I've proven I can't do it. So there's that, right? So that's how you kind of get started, right? You get started by, you just gotta get used to it, you gotta get in the habit, you gotta learn how to do something. And then once you do that, you need to look at, I think Lalo's formula for success is a totally reasonable formula for success. And so one of the things you'll notice in my stream description today is I've actually, you know, got a bunch of different things that are going on in there. You've got Donald Trump, you've got, you know, Michael Jordan and NBA playoffs, you've got The Handmaid's Tale from Hulu, and other things like that. Now, in reality, I don't care that much about my stream, and so I don't dig too much into the trending and discoverability and everything else like that, but picking on topics that you're willing and able to talk about, which are, you know, highly discoverable topics, is a good idea. And some people will call that clickbait. I still go by, and this is in one of my CPG rants, that it is opportunistic, right? Taking opportunities where, you know, information is available and there is low supply and high demand, and taking advantage of that, I think, is a reasonable thing to do. Thank you very much, Evo Games. So I think the propeller hat is not as big of a draw as I thought it would be. I really thought I was gonna bring in the chicks with it, but it turned out to not work that way. Did I just go the wrong way? I'm a little bit confused as to which way I'm supposed to be going at this point. Alright. I'm gonna guess I'm supposed to go this way, even though those guys are pointing to the left and not the right. Oh, god damn it. Oh, and no rings? God damn it. Have a good night, LJ! I should motorize the hat. It's been a constant refrain that I should motorize the hat. It's a thought. I haven't gotten around to it yet, but it's there. Gotta go fast. Take care, Evigo. Have a good night. Feel free to stop by some other time. I'm always happy to give tips and thoughts. As Lalo said, the keys are content, discoverability, and community. So, you know, try and make something that's interesting, make something that's different, make something that someone else isn't making. That's really what you want to do in everything that you do. Now, I don't really do that. I make content that other people are making, but I enjoy it anyway because I try and put my own spin on it, right? So I'm one of the few people I think out there who is doing, you know, as much of the CPG rants and the other information that I do, you know, trying to give information on what I see about the world out there, really making the conversation part of the stream always. And so that's a really, you know, important thing to me. Think about your shtick, think about your, you know, what makes you special, and then capitalize on it. So if what makes you special, in my case, is that I have a little bit better knowledge than the average bear about content creation and opinions on that, that's something I should take advantage of and use. I have to be a little bit careful personally because I am a YouTube developer, and I don't really want to be trading primarily on that. Like, I realize the hat is clearly to some people trading on the YouTube developer aspect, but I think most people don't really realize that. But I want to, you know, I have no problem sharing the information that I learned from being a member of the community, but I don't want people to think that, like, this is where I come to get secret information about when YouTube is doing next or whatever else like that. But I do pay a fair amount of attention, so. Well, thank you very much, Deliberately Creative. I appreciate it. I mean, we all know that I'm a better singer than either of you, Brad, so. But I've ditched the drinking because it was making me too depressed in a Donald Trump world. Oh, this boss. Hey, go ahead, Tails. Knock that bridge over. Holodeck tech is currently in the works. I think it's actually supported on Google Cardboard now. So you can get, if you get 3D spherical videos, I think that they will actually be supported on YouTube. Not 100% sure. It is far less satisfying, I agree. Oh yeah, so Mikey L the Gamer, Leif the Revenite came to the Google office today, and so I introduced him to my my packet capture guy. So I've never played Sonic Forces or heard of it. Try a Zoomy Dreamweaver. I'm kind of thinking, should I get an Oculus Rift? Or like an HTC Vive or something? So here's the thing. So Google put up a tilt brush library. And the tilt brush library is absolutely full of absolutely incredible art. It's like not a library, but a gallery. And it filled with these absolutely incredible things. And I look at it and I'm like, oh my god, that's absolutely incredible. Like, I want to be able to create things like that. Now, in reality, I'm a shitty-ass artist. Like, I can barely draw squares. Not that squares are super easy, but you get my point. And so, like, I will never create something that is like that. Not that I couldn't create interesting things or cool things, but I will never create anything nearly as impressive as the things that I'm seeing in this gallery. But I'm like, oh, like, if I just had, you know, VR, everything would be great, and I'd be able to do just like that. When in reality, of course I wouldn't. That's a completely ridiculous idea. But yeah, so it's kind of making me want, despite the fact that I know that everything about this is wrong, it's kind of making me want a, oh god! Oh man, I almost just killed myself. Oh, actually got out of my chair for that one. Whew! Yeah, so, I wonder if I can find that. One second, I'm gonna look real quick. and see if I can find this. Google, what was it? Art tilt brush gallery. That's not how you spell gallery. Art gallery. Oh, tilt brush sketch it. There we go. I want to see if I can find this one real quick. I don't know if I'm going to be able to. Come on, internet. Let's go. So a lot of these are really cool, but I'm going to see if I can find the one that I was thinking of. It's like a fish in a pond, or like a pond setting, something like that. Anyway, okay, so we'll just take some of these, right? So, like, oh shit, this isn't gonna load. Gonna load here. Yeah, so this won't load in this browser because I don't actually have WebGL enabled, unfortunately. And this isn't going to load here for the same reason. Okay, well, there we go. You can try that. Oh, here we go. So if I do a display capture, yeah. So like this is like crazy, right? Like, I mean, this is probably something that I could theoretically do, right? Like, this is not creating a real life object. This is something that is in the realm of possibility for me. But this is not. Like, this is incredible. Like, this is this whole scene created in Tilt Brush that is absolutely incredible. Like, detailed, running water, all this other stuff. Like, there's no way that I could do that. But I look at this and I'm like, oh my gosh, look at the cool things I could create if I just had this hardware. So like I realize rationally, like, I cannot do this, but that does not mean that emotionally I'm not like, oh my God, I must have this. This is going to be my future. So yeah, vr.google.com/sketches. Is the website. You can check it out and see all the cool sketches there. The one that I was thinking of isn't here, but anyway. So yeah. I think that Tilt Brush is super awesome, and I am disappointed I will never be able to make anything that cool. That's exactly it, Siu Kim. That's exactly what I'm doing. I am looking at a hammer and saying, oh my God, I could build a house. Like, it doesn't make any sense, but I'm doing it anyway. All right, I think this is the wrong way. Let's go this way instead. No, I want to go this way. Just watch a lot of Bob Ross. That's right. Because clearly all you need to do in order to be a good painter is watch Bob Ross. That is correct. I do feel the potential. Okay, wrong way, I guess. I mean, my mushroom eating skills are not good. I don't like mushrooms. So Christy, I just want to give you like a little bit of a reality check here. It's pretty unlikely that you're going to get someone who has no experience with RetroArch to be able to set up RetroArch and play a game with you in the context of this stream. There's just a lot of steps that's going to take, and realistically this comes back to the same problem I was talking about earlier. Most of the people who are here because they want to watch a live stream, not because they want to play a game, even if they say, yeah, I would love to play with you. I mean, I could be wrong, but there are so many different kind of mushrooms. Yeah, they're all gross. I mean, they're like cheeses. They're all gross. I don't want to play with you. I mean, that's not what you said when we were in VidCon. Oh no! Fuck. Saw that coming, just a bit too late. Tails! No, just don't. God damn it, Tails. Oh shit. I am shitting on cheeses. Cheeses, mushrooms, everything else like that. Oh, games! We're playing games, Jose? I'm confused here. I thought you said you were playing with me. It's a different story now. What a strange thing to do. I mean, Mrs. CPG is the cheese person here. I am not a cheese person. I'm a little bit confused as to how those, like, infinitely cycling pits work, but whatever. I don't understand cheeses. I don't understand mushrooms. I don't understand all these foods that people are like, oh, you have to, like, have a degree in cheesiology in order to eat this. Like, do you prefer a soft shepherd's cheese or a warm goat's milk cheese? And I'm like, how about I just, like, have a slice of American? I mean, Stephanie, you don't have to chat. You can just listen to me. I have the most entertaining things to say, and then you won't get any work done even if you aren't chatting. I think this is actually what many people have proven, is that it's pretty much impossible to listen to me and do work. So make sure that you do work. That is an important thing. But yeah, so as much as I enjoy being a source of information for people who can use it, I don't want my reputation to be like, this is the place you come so that you can ask for when you're going to get sponsors, or like, this is the place that you can come so you can do, you know, this, that, and the other. And like, some people get away with this more than others, right? Like, if you are a long-term friend of mine, I'm going to be more accepting of like some technical questions, especially if they're bugs, right? Because as opposed to like new features that you think you should have and other people shouldn't. If you're not trying to get me to bias my opinions towards you, it is certainly easier for me to accept that rather than something else. Because I have such a hard time like even being that. It's one of the things that I am really kind of disappointed in, is that, you know, running betas at YouTube oftentimes feels like, you know, rather than set up a set of categories that we want to, you know, find testers in, we just have this kind of like, oh yeah, whoever knows the right person can do it. And so while most features on YouTube that are openly accessible are kind of very straightforward requirements and everything else like that, betas and other programs like that just tend to be super arbitrary, and it bugs the shit out of me, and it has since I started. You know, I've been having this problem with, like, you know, when it's experimental stuff, it's great, right? Like, we do experiments, and if we can roll it out to like 1% of users and have them test it, it's great. Like, I love that. I love that about YouTube, that most of our development is done via direct experimentation. So, hey Barb! But it's so hard to me to like deal with like creator end screens was one, right? Like, so much time and energy and attention was spent on like Reddit complaining about who got creator end screens and how could I get creator end screens and everything else like that. And I really just wish YouTube had just like opened a form and been like, okay, if you want these, fill this out. Like, this is your thing. Like, you go do your thing and come back to me. And I will, you know, we're not promising you anything, but, you know, at least you can register interest that way. And like, pick people off of those lists that fit your categories, right? Look for number of subs and number of active concurrents and number of views and number of all these other things. Like, that's the way I want to do things. Zeokim, like, that's my life. Also, I think Barb is gonna feel like I'm ragging on her, and while it's probably true that I am a little bit, it's like a general cultural thing at YouTube that I find very frustrating. So, god damn it. So it's been a constant struggle for me you know, I love our experimental designs, but they fall down in cases where you need a limited set of feedback. And so I really loved our opt-in programs for TestTube. So TestTube had a new opt-in for the player. The new Cougar player. Sorry, I'm not supposed to call it that. The new style HTML5 player. That's was something that I thought we did really well, but before we did that, we had like a ton of experiments showing that it was like terrible for users that we had to fix and everything else like that first, right? So I sometimes wish that we had done that earlier. It's been generally my feeling that, you know, if you can give users a general opt-in earlier, there's going to be a lot less change aversion to things. I know. Well, the problem with that codename is, yeah, that codename has problems. One point I told somebody, like, you know, tell me why it's got that codename, and then I was like, okay, now I heard the story. Now never tell anyone why it has that codename again. So the Flash player was called Scoville because it was the new hotness. That's what I learned. I was like, why is there this Scoville equals 1 parameter in like all API calls that we make for recording our player information? Turns out that 4 years after it was a new thing, why do I have 5 updates available? So yeah, secret information like codenames, especially codenames for already released projects, is kind of like, eh. Like, technically, I suppose somebody could get upset at me for sharing confidential information, but I don't worry too much about it. And most of our codenames are just dumb. Like, I mean, like, I don't even know why they're called that, but... That's not intended to apply to, Yes, the fact that you dressed as a bucket was so weird, though. Oh god, this one. This is one where I just, like, need to keep 1 coin, or 1 ring, rather. Go, Tails, go! Oh, come on. Oh, come on, Tails! You're useless to me. There's a super bucket! Oh, come on, come on, come on! Oh, god damn it. Okay. Yes, that is correct. You could not see your stats in the About section. You have correctly identified a statement about the new UI. Also can't see transcripts, which I worry about way more than stats. But yes, the Flash player being Scoville because it was the new hotness is definitely, definitely a thing. Oh. Sleep late? Jose, I thought you didn't sleep at all. I thought we've already decided that, right? God damn it. There we go. That's exactly what I wanted to do. It was actually intentional. Oh, not quite far enough away. There we go. I don't remember what happens here. He like shoots lasers. There we go. Boom shakalak. Yeah, so new UI will probably move into a state where we allow people to opt in. This is one of those things where change of version is really going to be hitting us hard once we actually switch that. We've seen a lot of it. I've seen a lot of it in Reddit already, and I really want to fix that. So one thing I learned about this level is that, like, oh, not this level, it's one of these, is that, like, it is actually very easy to just walk right off the front of the plane if you're not careful. Or, no, it's at the beginning of Flying Battery Zone. At the beginning of Flying Battery Zone, if you just try and walk, you will definitely just walk, like, or if you don't pay attention, Sonic does not automatically jump onto the platform, so he'll just, like, go down with the plane. So... yeah, Zeokim, it's in the new web UI. The new web UI has a dark mode setting. It's one of the things that people use when they talk about the fact that, you know, regular YouTube just copies everything that YouTube Gaming does, is adding a dark mode. So if you search for YouTube has a secret dark mode, there's like a hacky way that you can get in on it early. But it doesn't work for the live chat, so the live chat doesn't display in the dark. Propellers. I don't understand the everything needs a dark mode fanaticism. I've seen it a bunch, but I don't even like I don't like dark mode. My Discord is not in dark mode, and people, like, I take screenshots and they're like, what are you doing? Why is your thing not in dark mode? I mean, I read my IRC in dark mode. I use kind of, I guess, dark mode for the chat on these streams, like my pop-out chat, but I don't really care whether I'm using the YouTube app or the YouTube Gaming app. In fact, I don't really use the YouTube Gaming app for streams much anymore because I have too many people I'm subscribed to in YouTube Gaming, and because I get notifications for everything, like if I turn on notifications, I get too many because I get like 200, and so like 200 a day, and so now I just don't, and I have like 6 people I'm subscribed to in the main app, and I enabled notifications for each of them individually. This is my own fault. Just to be clear, like I was interested in subscribing to all the people so that I always have someone to watch live, and this is what I get. I remember the last time I played this, I was like, how am I not gonna get hit by those fires? Like, what do I have to do? There we go. Oh, got it. Yeah, I can imagine seeing that. So I guess there's a trick, like in Speedrunner Land. If you go, like, keep going to the left here, you can kind of skip a big part of the level, but I could never pick it up. Yeah, it's a shame that this song is so out of sync because my audio is totally bollocksed up. I mean, Jay Kraken is just doing what is, like, legit in his best interest, I think. Shit. DJ Diddy. Classic Chris. But yeah, so I pretty much always watch Brad. I always watch Jose. I usually watch Soy Bomb, at least for a little bit. I usually watch SnapClickKat, although not on Super Mario nights. I watch Gaming Lawyer, and I'm trying to think if I have notifications for anybody else. I think that's all I've got notifications for. Yeah, boy! trouble. I'm not gonna be fast enough. Oh. Wait, what? Did I go in a circle? Okay, that sucked. I don't know what just happened, but that was not... I'm confused because I'm pretty sure that was already lit up and then I hit it and it dinged and saved my spot, which is good, but I'm confused. I don't know, whatever. I'll pretend everything is fine. Have a good night, DJ Diddy. She's got like a handful of imitators. I mean, I'm not surprised that you saw one and see, like that was already like dinged. What is up with this? All right. Did I even cheat at this game? I feel like I didn't even cheat. I mean, I haven't finished it yet, but I have 7 lives, and I don't remember save state. I mean, I save stated a couple. Oh, I tried to save state to beat the super emeralds, or the emeralds, but that's it. Like, other than that, I'm just playing right through. Oh, this isn't the final level, though. That's right. This has got the other shitty boss that I have to attack. Wow, 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 wow. How old am I? I'm 33 years old. You might be talking to Chris G, though. But yeah, I'm 33 years of age. I've actually celebrated 2 of my birthdays here on YouTube Gaming. Drinking well into the night and having a good time. See, if she was using live stream alerts, she could have just filtered out her name, and then she wouldn't get those notifications. My stream is ahead of my chat. Okay, so that's good to know. I don't know what that means, though. You'll have to give me more words. Like, does that mean you see me responding to things before you see them in chat? In which case, my stream is ahead of your chat. No use machine. Ba-ba-da-ba-ba-ba-da-da-da. 33, yep. Trinity Trace. Yeah, so that probably means, are you on mobile or desktop, Jose? Alright, off into space Sonic goes. So I wonder if you run out of time right now if you die. Because I know there's a 10-minute time limit. Hey, Slim Gamer Man. Probably not. I didn't watch Guardians of the Galaxy 1. There's actually a like company-wide outing this Friday that Google is paying for people to go to Guardians of the Galaxy, but I'm probably not gonna go. That was quick. Time for a little pirate. No, it's Sonic 3, man. All right. Yeah, I mean, if I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it the easy way. Not a speedrunner, man. That's the whole point. There is no Sonic 3, only pirates. Things that are not true. I told you, Brad, you have to stream pirates first. You have to show me the glory of pirates. No, it's not just you, SuperFox5. My whole computer has a completely fucked up audio system today, and there's nothing I can do about it, so I am just accepting it. It's not off a bit, it's off a ton. It's bad. I watched it. It's really bad. Oh god. I forgot that it was on that. I was like, ah, wait, blah. Yes, bad ending confirmed. I have not heard of an energy drink called cannabis. I assume that it has cannabis in it. I mean, you can go for it, but you could always have been playing pirates. I mean, you came right at the ending of this game, but we are gonna go on to Sonic 3 and Knuckles, despite Brad's insistence that there is only pirates, because that is incorrect. Come on! How many hits do you take, stupid robot? Kitty, you are not getting out while I am streaming. That is not going to happen. I feel like I've hit it more than 8 times. I don't know, maybe I haven't. I mean, there should be weed in everything. There is really no reason, in the same way there's vanilla in everything, God damn it! Yeah, so it makes me look a bit older when I show that I have a bald head. Oh yeah, sure. I mean, but I mean, fine. So it shouldn't be in anything that you can taste it in, but that doesn't mean that it shouldn't be in a lot more things. Yeah, I know, SuperFox5. It was just bad. It was a bad scene. It's a bad scene. It's all right. We'll get him this time. Like, overall, except for trying to cheat on the special stages, I didn't actually cheat in this game at all, so I feel like maybe this game is undertuned a bit. Yeah, take off, fly up. You got it, Sonic. That's correct. Yeah, you'd feel like he would just, like, bring a ring with him, right? Like, come on, Sonic. What are you thinking? You're just walking out of the stage with no rings? Jeez Louise. 3. That was 3, right? I'm gonna count them this time, because I don't believe that I only have to hit him 8 times. Four. Talons of Justice! Hello, gaming lawyer. I mean, oh, that's true. I did one. No rings. The game doesn't let you bring it another ring with, though. I'm pretty sure you have no rings no matter what. I could be wrong. Take off. That's 5? I feel like that's 5. 6. Oh god. Someone just called me. Oh, okay. Come on, come on, come on. 6. This is it. 2 more. 7. Caw! Let's go. Yeah, that was pretty sure that was 8. And he is not dead. Maybe that was 7. Maybe I miscounted by 1. Okay, that was definitely 8. Yeah, so that has to be 8. I think Mike is right. It's 12. Oh my god, I went through him! How did I not bounce off of him? Oh. God damn it. Friggin' level. Friggin' level. Anyway, yeah, so Gaming Lawyer is here, and whenever Gaming Lawyer is here, we do a very special thing. Of course, those of you who've been here before know what that special thing is. Oh, but we're going to be totally off. Well, we're going to do it anyway. My audio is going to be totally off, and nothing will look good, and I don't care, because we're going to talk about Brian Wilson, the Texas Law Hawk.
Brian Wilson, Texas Law Hawk. Brian Wilson, the Texas Law Hawk. Talons of justice. Due process. Do wheelies. It's hot out here. Brian Wilson, El Halcon de la Ley. Brian Wilson, the Texas Law Hawk.
All right, there we go. Brian Wilson, the Texas Law Hawk. Oh, crap. El Halcon de la Ley. Alright, that's fine. I didn't need that life anyway. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that was 8. So it's 8 for him and 16 for this guy. Yeah, the Texas Law Hawk. Alright, we're gonna do ba-da-ba-da. Yeah, whatever. Come on, come on, come on. And rip again and again and again. You got it, Fernando. You know how it goes. Just like that. Again and again and again. I mean, that one was not my fault. Like, it glitched and I went through it. 1. Like, this particular level is basically just a matter of perseverance. I just need to be calm. We're good. Oh yeah, I should always cheat. See you Friday, Super Fox 5 Gaming. I don't know what I'm going to play on Friday. I should probably think about that at some point. I think I might actually be doing... so a friend of mine pointed out that there's been these like game jams where they develop games in the style of the Game Boy. So I might just do a handful of those. There's like 16 of them in the most recent Game Jam 5, Game Jam Game Boy 5 on itch.io or something like that. And I might actually just play through a whole bunch of those until I find something interesting looking. I mean, but he only gets coins in Emerald stages that you wouldn't have gotten anyway. So having him lose his coins is like, you just have to be better. Don't let him get coins in the first place by playing better. Ba ba da ba ba da bow, ba da 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 da. Take 5 steps. Oh no, I guess not. Sega Gaming Lawyer, welcome to the stream. Happy Monday. It's good to see you. We may actually just bail early rather than going into Sonic 3. I'm not gonna make it through the game. And I could like go to bed early and get sleep. Yeah, so it's been a kind of shitty like weekend for me. My daughter unfortunately had to take medical leave from school, which means that I was packing her up from school this weekend unexpectedly. We did go out to her concert and saw her choir sing, which was nice, but unfortunately she is home from school and did not finish up the semester, which sucks because there was only about a week left, so kind of sucks. I have a wife? I have a wife. Mrs. CPG is my wife. Painstakingly Played is her channel. I mean, I think people should have a happy Monday. The fact that I haven't had a happy Monday is different. So yeah, so Alicia's not doing super great. And so our relationship with her at the moment is a bit strained. Go Sonic, go! Hey, Sushi Sunshine! Coming here early in the morning, sushi time. I mean, I think that's basically going to be the story. She's thinking she's going to go back to Hampshire in about a year, and I don't think that's not the way that conversation's going to really go, I don't think. But we're not rolling anything out at the moment because it's not really time for that. But cast of characters, yes, the bad ending. Gotta get the bad ending. I did, yeah, I completed Sonic 1 and Sonic 2. I'm a killer machine in this space, so... I mean, Tails is the hero. Let's just be clear. If there's a hero of Sonic, it is clearly Tails. G fucking G. But yeah, so I'm a little bit disappointed, you know, that that's how her semester worked out, and it's kind of making me pretty sad and shitty. And then work was just like file bug after bug after bug from this weekend. Will I play Sonic 3 and Knuckles? I don't think I'm gonna play. So the good ending, you have all of the emeralds, and so you're Super Sonic, I guess. I don't think I'm better at this than Mario. Tails is not a garbage pail. No, I'm not playing Tetris. I know the abuse I get when I play Tetris. Yeah, thanks, Sushi. I appreciate it. It's okay, Gaming Lawyer. This was a good stream. Like, I know that not everyone loves Sonic, apparently, for some reason. But it was a good stream. I got to talk about a bunch of different shit. A little bit disappointed in the sound issues because that really sucks. But what can you do? But yeah, I appreciate everyone who came by. It was a fun stream. It was a good night, and I really needed that. It's a recharge, you know. So I wanted to do a special shout out for all of the people who are our patrons. So we've got a whole bunch of new patrons, which is really kind of encouraging. I've even gotten 2 new patrons in the last week, according to this like thing that pops up in my Patreon. So for those of you who don't know, I run a Patreon for 2 basic reasons. One reason is to, you know, create a fund to help support other creators, and the other reason is to get some feedback. So I have, you know, a Discord channel where people can get access to my stream notes and other documents and other things like that. So John Cooney has been my biggest patron for the past 9 months now. But as well as Oni, who became a patron today, Bald and Bearded, Icky with a V, SnapClickKat, Stingray Gaming, as well as Jose Angel and Chris GC8. At the $4 level, Piratekin, Mistledine Online, Iopred, Alex on Fire, and Mark, all supporting me at the lower level. I appreciate all of that. If you are interested, there's a link in the description below for the Patreon, and you can sign up today, and you get to vote for what I do with the money I've got saved up to do now. So yeah, that's cool. I'm glad you had a good weekend for me. Sonic 1 Mania Edition. We're not gonna play any more games tonight. I'm gonna wrap up the stream here, I think. I'm gonna actually quickly see if anybody is streaming who would maybe make a good raid target. Someone playing some retro games, but this is it for me for tonight. I'm gonna actually go to bed early and become like a normal adult tomorrow morning. So I appreciate all the thoughts and recommendations. There is a form in the description below for making recommendations. I will consider to play other games in the future. Thank you all you Sonic fans who showed up and were hanging out here. So I appreciate you and appreciated having you come out. No, and no. Okay, so that was easy. Let's see about this way now. Thank you, Sushi Sunshine. Sorry you missed most of it. Prop 420, good to see you. I mean, I have to go to work. I'm not super tired at the moment, but I do know that I am low on happiness, and I know that being tired makes me lower on happiness. So I just don't want to play that game tonight. I'm gonna go to bed early. I'm gonna get good sleep. I'm gonna get up in the morning, etc., etc. So we'll see if we've got anybody here. You know what? We're not rating anybody. If you want to watch videos for a while, I will probably hang out for a little bit in chat and watch videos at my little chat thing. So feel free to hop over, say hi, and we will watch some vids. But other than that, I'm gonna just sign off the stream here. Have a great night. Thank you all for being here. It's been great to chat my way through. My throat is sore, but my spirit is renewed. So thank you all for that. And yeah, thanks. But yeah, if you want to watch a couple videos, I've got a playlist of videos here we can watch. We're not going to do the cat stream because he's pissed at me right now. But hop in and watch videos, and I will hang out there for a little while, and see you all later. Bye-bye.